Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Landon with you this afternoon. No Brett Norsworthy. He'll be back on Monday taking care of some things, but he'll be back with us to start the week next week. Busy show today. A lot to get to. We got to talk about the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Miami Heat. Now, John Morant has been fined by the NBA. Talk a lot of NBA today, but also a lot of Final Four as the men's basketball tournament. We'll have our national championship game set tomorrow night after those two games, Auburn, Florida, Houston, Duke. We will talk about both of those games later in the show. We'll get picks throughout the show, maybe even a little Major League Baseball at some point. But a lot to get to this afternoon. We're live and local like we are every single afternoon in our Family Leisure studios. Landon, how you doing this afternoon?
I am doing great and doing especially well because I checked the score on my way over here and my Mets are up 2 over the Blue Jays right now.
How about that?
Early top of the first inning home run,
Right.
2-run home run by good old polar bear Pete Alonso.
Right.
So I'm on top of the world right now, but early in the game, so still got a lot of baseball left to play. Got a lot of baseball left in the season, but.
Yeah.
Got to be pretty happy right now with that.
Yeah, a lot of afternoon games. We had a game that started at noon, a couple games that started at 1. Looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games today starting before 6 o'clock, which I consider all of those early. A couple of those, 2 of those are 5:30, 5:45, so I guess you can loop those into night games. But everything before that starting at 3:30 or earlier. So, a lot of day games. I was curious why so many afternoon games, especially on a Friday. You'd think you want night games, but one of my buddies pointed out for a lot of these teams, it is their home opener. And so, have that afternoon with all of the, celebration and festivities before the game, an afternoon first pitch for Friday. So, we've got a lot of day baseball. We'll do a little bit of an update, talk some Major League Baseball probably during What's Trending at 5:30 because we got to talk a lot of basketball today. I mentioned it. Grizzlies, they got the win last night. We'll talk Final Four a lot. We'll do that later in the show. Let's start with the Memphis Grizzlies and their win last night. Trailed early, I think 9-0 to start the game, in a pretty big hole, but able to fight back. They get the lead, it was really a back and forth second half most of the time, but then ultimately go down. Grizzlies have a lead. Bam Adebayo blocks a John Morant layup attempt. And then on the other end, Tyler Hero knocks down a jumper to tie the game. Looked like we could be going to overtime. But then, call 12, John Morant showed up and hit the game winner over Kel'el Ware. Kind of took it to Kel'el Ware and then hit a little bit of a step back right in front of the three-point line and knocked it down. Afterwards, asked about the what he saw. Taylor Rooks, obviously his game on TNT last night, Taylor Rooks asked him, what did he see? What walk her through what happened on that final play. What did you see out there? And he said, a pigeon guarding me, talking about the NBA rookie Kel'el Ware, who I thought it was really interesting how they guarded Kel'el Ware all night. I mentioned it yesterday. That was a matchup I was really looking forward to. Kel'el Ware versus Zach Edey, 2 rookies that were both taken in the first round. First game, both played really, really well. And then you saw in this game, Kel'el Ware a lot of times was out on the perimeter on the offensive end of the court. Grizzlies, they were giving him space, daring him to shoot, because Kel'el Ware, not a great three-point shooter. He ended up knocking down a couple of them late in the game. He ended up 2 for 4 from 3, knocked down both those threes late in the game, part of an 8-0 Heat run that really got them back in the game, kept him in the game. And but they were letting him shoot. They were daring him. He finished off with 13 points and 15 rebounds. But a lot of the game it was him wide open. I mean, nobody around him, and it wasn't what we've talked about a lot, where Grizzlies are giving up way too many open threes. This was designed. I mean, you saw Zach Edey down low in the paint, basically saying, we're going to defend the rim. If you want to come down here, we'll guard you. But if you're going to stand all the way out there, we're going to give you those 3 looks. And Kel'el Ware took 4 of them. But I thought very interesting how they defended him. Zach Edey on the other side, nice game, 8 points, 13 rebounds. So a nice matchup there between 2 of the rookie big men. But for the Grizzlies, finally get back to that winning way after 4 losses. They pick up a win, and Coach Islow's first win as an interim head coach. I know he had that one game back earlier in the season where Taylor Jenkins missed the game and he had to fill in. They won that game, but since being named the interim head coach, this is his first win last night. Ja Morant finished with 30 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. A really good game for him. One of the really interesting things in the fourth quarter, both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble. Jaren, 5 fouls, picked up his 5th in the fourth quarter. Ja Morant playing with 4 fouls. But Islo left both of them out there, wanted to finish the game with his stars. And we saw him, kind of like what we saw in that game against Golden State, where he really didn't go to his bench a ton. You look at these minutes, the guys that we call the stars of this team got the bulk of the minutes. Jaren Jackson Jr., 37 minutes. Desmond Bane, 36 minutes. Ja Morant, 32 minutes. And then when you look at the bench, it was really 3 guys that had the bulk of the minutes. Lamar Stevens got 2 minutes in there, but Santi Aldama, 30 minutes off the bench. Luke Kennard, 22 minutes off the bench. Scottie Pippen Jr., 27 minutes off the bench. And you look at what those guys were able to do. You mentioned it yesterday that this was going to come down to which bench produced more, that who would win this game. You wanted to see this Grizzlies bench kind of get back to how we talked about him early in the season, the depth that they have. And Scottie Pippen Jr., he was awesome last night. 17 points, 7 assists for the guard. Santi Aldama added 9 points and 8 rebounds. So a good win for the Grizzlies, but that has not been the big story today. The big story today, and really it became the big story when it happened last night. With about 7 minutes left in the first quarter, Ja Morant knocks down his first 3-pointer of the game. He finished 3 for 7 from 3. He's been shooting the 3 ball pretty well over these last 2 or 3 games. A lot better than that stretch he was on. But Ja Morant knocks down a 3, turns around, does the finger gun celebration towards his bench. That became all the talk on NBA social media that he, right after being warned, the night that it was announced he was warned by the NBA, he comes back out there with the finger guns. And then earlier this morning, Shams Charania broke the news that the NBA has fined Ja Morant $75,000 for finger gun gestures. He quote tweeted that and said, quote, NBA cited 2 finger gun motions from Morant in Thursday's game in Miami, hours after the league had issued a warning to Morant and the Grizzlies about refraining from the gesture. Now, a lot of people have talked about it. I know I've seen it. I'll be honest, I haven't sat there and counted the amount of times he has done it, but I know both beat writers, Drew Hill, DeMichael Cole, that watch every single minute of every single Grizzlies games, both of them have been out there on social media today pointing out that this is a very common celebration after threes by Ja Morant. That this isn't anything new. This isn't, he wasn't trying to be, kind of stick it to the NBA by going out there and doing it again. And also something that I heard DeMichael Cole, and we'll talk a little bit more about DeMichael. He was on the Dan Patrick show earlier today talking about this situation. But one thing he pointed out is that, okay, Golden State, you're going to a timeout. Whatever you want to say, Buddy Hield did the finger guns first, and then Ja Morant turned around and did it back. It resulted in technical fouls, okay? So that is one where it's like, all right, this kind of escalated to a point where the officials thought we need to hand out technicals for this. Okay, warning, cool. him doing this as a celebration, there's no malicious intent or anything. It is a celebration that he does. And this was the quote from DeMichael Cole earlier today on the Dan Patrick Show. Quote, "If you go around the league, this is not a celebration. This is not just a celebration Ja Morant is doing. This isn't just a celebration the Grizzlies players are doing. It's one that's league-wide, sort of, in a way." So, everyone around the NBA is doing this. I know Grizzly fans, after it became such a big thing last night that Ja Morant did it again, were posting on social media pictures of LeBron James last night in the game against the Warriors. Hit a corner three and turns around. It was more of a, I'm not the expert on guns, but it was more of like a pistol that LeBron James pulled out with the finger guns last night. And so, people trying to point out that, this is something that is league-wide. And we talked about it yesterday. Go to a high school basketball game. Go to a college basketball game. Go, watch an NBA game. Watch a college game. You're going to see somebody do a three-point celebration like this. Not saying that it's maybe the best three-point celebration we should be doing. And I think that's the point that DeMichael went on to say. I think he put it on Twitter. I don't know if he said it on the Dan Patrick Show, but I know I saw it on his Twitter. And then J-Ham earlier today with Johnny Radio said the exact same thing. If the league is going out there and saying this is something that Ja Morant should not be doing, we should not be wanting Ja Morant to do this for whatever reason. It's not something we want people watching our league to see, that we're, promoting guns, whatever the reason is. If you're the commissioner of the NBA, if you're Adam Silver, instead of just saying, "Hey, Ja Morant, don't do this," because Ja Morant, and you saw it if you watched or listened to his quotes after the game last night, you heard it from him. If you saw what the very little posting on social media he did the day before, you saw it. Ja Morant feels like he's being targeted, and he kind of is, because it's so league-wide. So if I'm Adam Silver, I think what he should be doing, send a memo to the entire league. Hey, we're not doing the finger gun celebrations anymore. Celebrate if you want, that's fine, but do not do this celebration and make it league wide. Try to put wraps on this for the entire league instead of just trying to point out one, because it's what everyone's doing is, if you point out one, you can point out 20 guys in the NBA that just last week did it. And so, it's just a very weird thing. But at the same time, I think what is also true is when Ja Morant gets the memo yesterday morning, hey, the NBA is warning you, don't do the celebration, maybe keep that in your back pocket the very next game.
Right.
Maybe try to celebrate in a different way. Because you knew, let's say, I don't know who the Grizzlies are playing in 3 games, but let's say he does it then. He hasn't done a gun celebration after being warned, and then he pulls it out on a random game against Dallas. I know they have Dallas in a couple games. Nobody's going to bat an eye at it. But because this was the very next game, and it was on TNT, he does it, everyone's watching, everyone sees it, and immediately everyone goes to social media and starts talking about it. So I think 2 things are true. I think if you want to clamp down on it, don't just target Ja Morant, make this an entire league-wide thing. But on the other hand, maybe try to keep that in your back pocket for the very next game out.
Right, and I liked what Stephen A. Smith was saying, because I heard him kind of address the matter with Ja earlier today on ESPN. He kind of sounded like a loving but disappointed father. Yeah. He was like, He was making the point that it wasn't as big of a deal as think as the league and people are making of it. He was like, this is something that like you've done, but because of your history with it, because like you've had the game suspensions, because you've been punished to that degree, he's just thinking, he was saying, this is something you just need to keep in the back of your head. This is not something that you need to continue to do. And like he mentioned, he's a great player, he's a superstar, he's world famous. Like, people know the name Ja Morant, and I think he summed it up perfectly by saying you got to act like a superstar. Can't be acting like somebody who's just going around thinking, I'm going to do this, do that. And he posed this great question of how much more money is Ja willing to lose by doing these kind of things.
Sure.
I mean, there comes a point in time where, yeah, this is not a huge deal. This is a celebration, and I like what you're saying. Like, this can't be something where just because Ja had that incident on Instagram, on Instagram Live, that now every single time a gun gesture is made, he's like, oh man, let's close this up, board this up. This is going to turn into something terrible. It's not like that. It's just a celebratory thing. And even John, his statements last night after the game, with the crowd booing him and going against him, I mean, that fuels the fire, and adrenaline's rising and tensions are getting high and stuff like that. But at the same time, you also gotta know that that kind of stuff is fresh on people's minds.
Sure.
So yeah, you can't target the dude, but also at the same time, Ja has to be a little bit more aware that there's a lot of different celebrations you can do out there.
Sure.
Perhaps bringing guns into it isn't the best situation or best plan at all.
No, you're absolutely right. I did want to bring this up real quick before we get to top and not top story of the day. Our friend Jimmy Shapiro over at betonline.ag, Brett forwarded this over to me this afternoon. They have odds up on betonline.ag regarding Ja Morant's future, and this was, and I had to double check this like 2 or 3 times to make sure this was right. Will the Grizzlies, yes or no is the only answers, will the Grizzlies trade Ja Morant before the start of the 2025-26 NBA season? So before the start of next year, will the Grizzlies trade Ja Morant? The favorite is yes, they will trade Ja Morant, minus 300. So a decently heavy favorite that, yes, the Grizzlies will trade Ja Morant. The no is plus 200, according to betonline.ag. I would take the no.
I would as well, especially because I remember it was I can't remember how many months ago, but Darian made the huge claim of like, we got to trade Ja.
Sure.
Like this was I feel in the middle of when Ja was still struggling with management at the Grizzlies, not letting him run the stuff he wanted to do down low, and he wasn't performing very well. But since he came back and started playing, dude, the switch has been turned on.
He's been playing really well.
He's been doing phenomenal. He's like averaging 28 points a game up until this point. I mean, the dude is playing great. I mean, it went from Jaren Jackson's team, hands down, and still pretty much is, to now Ja is like reclaiming that spot on the team. So I say right now, with the way that Ja is playing out the stretch, absolutely not. You keep him here in Memphis.
Now, and that's also the thing is, nobody, and I'm not going to use Luka because I think Luka was, nobody saw it coming and nobody expected it.
You could have never planned for that.
And it was the craziest thing ever. But there's no team out there, very few teams out there, that the fan base is like, oh yeah, we're going to trade our star player. A lot of times that happens, not as out of the blue as Luka was, but it is kind of a surprise to people. And so, maybe obviously betonline.ag is not just trying to give away free money. They've certainly heard something that makes them think, or these bettors are hearing something that makes them think Ja Morant could be traded. The Ja Morant next team odds, Orlando Magic have the best odds, 3-1. Miami Heat 4-1. Brooklyn Nets 5-1. Houston Rockets 6-1. Hornets 7-1. Trailblazers 10-1. Wizards 12-1. If Ja Morant does get traded, I hope he doesn't, but if he does, I do hope it's to an Eastern Conference team. I don't want him to stay in the West. So, I think the only Western Conference team on here is the Houston Rockets, the Portland Trailblazers. Those are the only 2 teams on that were at least shorter odds than 14-1 that are in the Western Conference. So get him out there on the East if he is going to be traded. I hope he doesn't, but if he is, get him out there on the West Coast. Let us know. Do you think the Grizzlies will trade Ja Morant before the start of the 2025-26 season? Let us know. Sissy's Log Cabin listener line 901-360-8255. Text it in. Will Ja Morant be traded before the start of next season? I'd love to get your opinion on that. Well, let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Alan Bell from Driving the Line. He'll join us, talk some wagering. We'll get his Final Four thoughts. Maybe we'll get his thoughts on Ja Morant's future. We'll also get some baseball picks from Alan. 3:45, we'll get back into the conversation, talk more about what happened in the game last night when the Grizzlies beat the Houston Rockets, thanks to the buzzer beater from Ja Morant. 4 o'clock, Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insider and CBS Sports. We'll talk a lot of bets with him. We'll get his thoughts on Ja Morant. We'll get his thoughts on the Final Four, baseball, everything under the sun with Bruce Marshall. 4:30, Ty Richardson from ESPN Arkansas and Fort Smith. He'll join us to talk the Razorbacks and the SEC. We'll definitely put a wrap on the Razorback season. Maybe we'll get to a little bit of Razorback baseball with him, but we'll also talk about the 2 SEC teams remaining in March Madness as they'll face off against each other tomorrow night, Florida and Auburn. 4:45, we get the big number of the day. 5 o'clock, we're going to break down the Final Four, a little Final Four preview. Both games, Florida versus Auburn, that will get the night started 5 o'clock on CBS. Then right after that, around 7:45 at least is what it's scheduled for on CBS, Houston versus Duke. We'll break down both of those games at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we'll talk about what's trending, and then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. It's pool time, and Family Leisure is already booking pool installs for 2025. Buy now and get on the list for your pool installation. 2024 pools are starting at $19.99 installed, and liners are only starting at $299. All pool accessories are up to 20% off, and don't forget about the hot tubs. 5 to 6 person hot tubs starting at $69.99. Swim spas and cold plunge tubs now $2,000 off. And patio furniture now up to 50% off on select sets. Mention this ad and get free installation only at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Again, let us know your thoughts on Ja Morant's future. Do you think he'll be traded? Let us know anything you got on your mind at the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. Text in, call in. Love to hear from you. And as always, this hour brought to you each and every afternoon by Lexus of Memphis. It looks like the rain's maybe gotten out of here, so maybe a good opportunity to go out there. And yeah, I hope so. I said that earlier to my girlfriend, and I said, yeah, the rain's done. It's not supposed to rain the rest of the day. She went out on a run and got drenched. I mean, just started pouring.
It's some flash rain coming around.
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of those spotty showers. But I think it's out of the way. Perfect opportunity to head out to Lexus of Memphis this weekend, test drive some of those vehicles, and, hey, start next week with a brand new vehicle from Lexus of Memphis. Well, let's go ahead and get to top story of the day.
Top story of the day.
My top story of the day, it's got to be the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Miami Heat. Brett's been bringing it up a lot lately about how we don't do wins and losses for the Grizzlies, but we might do that a little bit later. With only a handful of games left on the season, what will they finish from here after a 4-game losing streak, 7 of their last 8 games resulting in a loss? They finally get a win. First win since March 25th when they beat the Utah Jazz. Second win since March 15th when they beat the Miami Heat. But it was a 110-108 win over the Heat. A win where Ja Morant came in with the heroics yet again with the buzzer beater. Kind of looked like he was going to go try to get to the rim. They had Kel'el Ware, the long 7-footer, on him, but then he hits that step back, knocks down the jumper, and wins it on the road. Now we know what's happening with the fine from the NBA, but the Grizzlies, they'll turn their attention to tomorrow night on the road against the Detroit Pistons. Detroit Pistons team that's playing much better this season will be a tough challenge on the road. They'll go there next Tuesday. They'll be on the road against Charlotte before returning home to a Minnesota team that's right there neck and neck with them in the NBA standings. But right now, all's well, I think, with the Grizzlies because, hey, a win's a win.
Yeah, a win is a win. My top story is the Final Four coming up this weekend. We're going to break that game down. The game's down a little bit later in today's show, but I was doing some research today and found that there was an ESPN article out there that ranked the top 15 players to look out for in the Final Four. I'm not going to go through all 15, but I did select 2 from each team that we certainly need to be keeping our eyes on. Starting with Duke, Con Knippel, the 6'7 freshman guard, has been proving himself to be a leader on the court when the top dog of the league right now in Cooper Flagg. He's been doing a great job. He's got a combined total of 41 points with 8 assists in the last 2 games that they played over Alabama and Arizona. And their top dog, Cooper Flagg, the 6'9 freshman who's projected to go early in the first round of this year's NBA draft, has just been proving why he's the top dog in the league as he is right now. For Auburn, you got Johnny Broome and Tahad Pettiford. You got a freshman and a senior. You got a forward and a guard. Both have been playing phenomenally for the team. They've been the backbone of this Auburn offense, and that's the reason why they've been on a roll. And to be fair, that's also the reason why I'm choosing them to win this tournament in full. So let's go Tigers. For Florida, Walter Clayton Jr. and Elijah Martin. Both of these guys, seniors, both of these guys have been playing really well all throughout the tournament. Florida has had a little bit of a struggle getting to the Final Four. A lot more close games, but they've been playing good competition and have been proving themselves worthy of being in the spot that they're in right now. And finally for Houston, LJ Cryer and Milos Uzan. Love that name. Both of these dudes have been making threes like it's nobody's business, and they have been proven to themselves and to the entire league why these guys belong where they do, and why Houston and all the top 1 seeds have made it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story was going to be the Final Four, but Randy texted in, and I wanted to read this text, so I will use this as my not top story of the day, and we'll brand it as Ja Morant gets fined by the NBA, because that's what Randy is texting in. Really good text by Randy. Randy, as always, thanks so much for texting in. Here's what he says. I might be alone in this. Oh, good Lord, the computer's messing up. Give me a second. I might be alone in this, but there are countless ways to celebrate making a three-point shot, getting an and one, or hitting a home run. There is one way the NBA told Ja not to do, and he did it at the first chance he had. Let's not act surprised that he got fined. I hope he doesn't make another three-pointer this season. Hell, it's going to come back and cost us a game if he keeps it up, not to mention a possible suspension if he does it again. It's a good point by Randy, because kind of what we were talking about. I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised when I saw the fine come out this morning. I was very worried about that when I saw that, because it is, whether you think Ja Morant should not have these eyes on him, it's wrong that he got fined, it's good that he got fined. However you view this, we all knew that the NBA had just warned Ja not to do the finger gun motions, and so we knew that eyes were going to be on him to see, would he in fact celebrate, and how would he celebrate? Would he use the finger gun? So no, I was not surprised, because, whether you want to say, well, Ja Morant does that after every three, the NBA's looking at it and going, you're just slapping us in the face. We just told you not to do that, and then you're going out there and do. Earlier today, John kept calling the argument, and I agree with him, a little kid argument of, well, everyone's doing this. We all used that when we were kids. Well, Mom, everybody did that, and my mom would always tell me, I don't care about everybody. I care about you, and you shouldn't be doing that or whatever. So it is very much a little kid argument of everybody's doing it, and it's also a very little kid thing to, when your mom or your dad tells you not to do something, and then you go out there and you do that exact same thing that they just told you not to do, you're gonna get in more trouble because they just told you not to do it. You are disrespecting them as your parent. Now, this obviously isn't a parent and son or parent and daughter type of thing, but that's how it's viewed, is, wow, you're slapping us in the face, you're spitting in our face because we just told you not to do it. So I absolutely see that side of it, and that's why I said, maybe keep that in your back pocket. If you're Ja Morant, you got to be thinking that in your head, okay, they just warned me, let me not do that right now, because I know people are going to watch me. So, the fine is there. I do agree with Randy, though, if he continues to do this, because how the NBA is clearly viewing this, it could result in a game suspension. I don't think it would be anything more than a game suspension. I would be kind of surprised if they did suspend him, but when you look up and there's only 5 games left in the season, that could be big.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my not top story, I'm going to try to make it quick. With the NFL draft quickly approaching, I feel like one of the names has always been talked about is where does Travis Hunter land? What's the best spot for him? And what is he going to do? It seems like the field right now is split on him, on NFL teams wanting and being okay with him playing both sides of the ball, or him just strictly sticking to being a wide receiver or a defensive back. But I would say my happiest thing about all of this is that he is nowhere near talks about being drafted by the Tennessee Titans. I would much rather have Cam Ward than a Travis Hunter. I would much rather have a dude who's actually going to be a playmaker than, and I'm not saying Travis Hunter's not a playmaker, great talent, amazing, but for somebody to play both sides of the ball, especially at the pro level in the NFL, very difficult to do, and I would just be interesting to see where he lands with the NFL draft.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we return, we're talking wagering with Alan Bell.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelet, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
As a fan of the important sports cultures, when you save money by bundling your water bottle with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, as long as an option just not good. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and what? Heroes just leave it and save it. Progressive Casualty Insurance and giving its other insurance not available in most future situations.
Showboats fans, the boats are back in action with a 1:30 kickoff on Saturday, April 12th at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as they take on the Houston Roughnecks in a special Memphis wrestling-themed game, the Showboats Showdown. Come see all the football action of the UFL and enjoy wrestling matches pregame and a special halftime main event. More football, more wrestling, more Showboats. Get your tickets today at UFLShowboats.com. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats! Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat of your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today to the loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Good afternoon. Traffic's building out here where you would expect. 40 East over here at Sycamore View Road. Still dealing with lots of power outages. Some traffic intersections are still confusing, whether the light is still out or on the blink. Still see some rain showers moving through the Memphis area and to the east of Memphis out in Fayette County. Be careful. Hey, if your lawn needs a little bit of help besides all this rain, call Lawn Solutions at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Landon with you as we're live and local inside our Family Leisure Studios. And joining us now to talk some wagering, Alan Bell from Driving the Line. He joins us now. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. I want to get to a lot of these games, Final Four, some baseball as well, but I want your thoughts on this. We just talked about it to start the show, but we were sent an email earlier this afternoon saying that betonline.ag has posted odds for Ja Morant's future. Obviously, after everything that's going on now, the finger guns and the fine he got earlier today, will the Grizzlies trade Ja Morant before the start of the 2025-26 NBA season? According to the odds on betonline.ag, yes is minus 300, no is plus 200. Do you think the Grizzlies will trade Ja Morant this offseason?
Man, that is a great question. First off, appreciate you having me back.
Yeah.
It all comes down to two things. I mean, he's a heck of a player, and there's a lot of people that are Ja Morant fans. But the biggest thing is the money, and can you move that? I am fascinated by this. I mean, look, let me tell you, the fact that they're putting it up and it's minus 300, right? Like, not that they know something no one else does, but that goes to tell you, like, they wouldn't do it for no reason.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, like, you guys have, obviously the finger on the pulse. Like, how does the fan base feel? Like, if posing that same question, would fans say, yes, do it, or no, don't do that?
Well, I'll say this. I told Landon when we started the show, Brett forwarded me this email. I had to look at it like 10 times to make sure I was reading it right, because I would not think that yes is that heavy of a favorite right now, just because the fan base still loves him. You don't really hear much out of the front office or anybody with the team that says that they're getting annoyed with him or his antics or anything like that. So from at least my point of view, I was shocked to see these type of odds for that.
Yeah, and, it's crazy because, all right, look, I mean, it's relatively minor, like what we're talking about, but it's also the fact that the league is specifically bringing it up and saying, please don't do this, please don't do this, and they're giving you one here with the fine and saying, okay, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And now you're one thing away from, what, a year? 2 years, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, that's the scary part. And if you're somebody that would want to trade for him, you're under the understanding of we could leverage our entire team, and he's gone in 1 second. That's the tough part. Yeah.
No, it definitely is, and I mean, just really surprising to see those odds. But you never know. Maybe it is something that the Grizzlies would consider. And we were talking about it. I mean, they're obviously not trying to compare this to the Luka trade, because that was just completely out of the blue. But, when you have that kind of star player, it's never, or most of the time, it is relatively surprising when that team decides to trade that type of player. So, maybe it is something that the Grizzlies do in the offseason, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Let's get to some of these college games. The Final Four gets kicked off tomorrow night in San Antonio. Let's start with this first one. SEC matchup, Florida-Auburn. They met once this season, and Florida got a win on the road without Elijah Martin, which is really hard to believe. But right now, Florida, a 2.5-point favorite, the total at 159.5. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, so, first off, we need to understand, the health status of Broom, for Auburn, right? But let's just assume that he's good to go, okay? Man, Florida has twice in the last 3 games should have been out of this thing. And I don't know if that is a negative or actually a positive. Usually it's a positive, right? Like a team comes back stronger. I thought all year long that Auburn was the better team, but there's no way I can say that now. Like, Florida minus 2.5 seems like a play to be. It's so low that you could actually just play Florida by line. Yeah. But I'll give you a nugget here as well. Florida's hit the over in 11 straight games.
Whoa.
Yeah, 11 straight games, right? So, and we see these totals every time they play. It's not like they're low. So, yeah, if you want to play a total, there you go. But, I mean, it just feels impossible to bet against Florida, especially if you can take them to just win the game. It feels impossible to bet against them.
Yeah, that does feel like something we've done every Friday with you throughout the basketball season, is seeing one of these SEC totals and going, that seems too low. These offenses feel like they can definitely go over. And so, yeah, with Florida hitting it 11 straight games, I like that one a lot. This second game, Houston-Duke, I'll be completely honest, this is the game I'm most looking forward to when you just look at the makeup of both of these teams. But right now, Duke, a 5.5-point favorite in this total, maybe one of the lower totals we've seen in the entire tournament, 136.5. But when you look at these defenses, according to KenPom, Houston number 1 in adjusted defensive efficiency. Duke, I believe, 5th in the country in defensive efficiency. So two teams that really get after it on the defensive end of the court. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, so, you're exactly right on that, right? And that's why we see such a low total there. And I think you bring up a good point, like, in regards to Duke, we talk about Cooper Flagg, and Duke's averaging 91.4 points per game through just the tournament.
It's crazy.
Through just the tournament. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dude, they're scoring a bunch of points, but like you said, man, Houston's defense is no joke. Honestly, I like the over in this game, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Duke is going to come out and say, you know what, Houston? We're going to force this tempo up a little bit. Like, we're going to force you to play a different style of game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to sit there and play defense, and which Duke could certainly do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Duke could play in any style. But I like the over. I think Duke says, look, if that doesn't work, we can play your style too. We ain't scared of it. Mm-hmm. But I think that, Duke's going to try to force it. That said, and this is nothing against Houston, why would we bet anything other than Duke? Like, they cover, I don't know if anybody can beat Duke. Honestly, when they're playing at their best, I don't know if they're beatable, man. So I'm not going to overthink it. I like the over, but you can give me Duke 5.5. Yeah. If it loses, I'm fine with it. Worth the price of admission, because Duke's covering everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, the makeup of this team is incredible. I mean, you have those 4 freshmen, 3 that are in the starting lineup, and then they've kind of put all these veteran pieces around them. They are really a fun team to watch. Talking to Alan Bell, he joins us every Friday from Driving the Line to talk some wagering. Let's go over to Major League Baseball. A lot of day action today. A lot of these teams, their first home opener on the Friday, so a lot of festivities around that afternoon games. Is there anything you've noticed over the first full week of Major League Baseball that kind of sticks out to you, things that you're tracking, following about any of these teams?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Every game until it stops hitting, bet Marcell Ozuna 1+ walk at -105.
Okay.
Because, because without Ronald Acuna, every team literally is just saying, all right, just walk Ozuna. We don't care. We're going to pitch to everybody else because all they're doing is striking out, right? Mm-hmm. So, take a look at the walk numbers. Look at it, man. And it's at 1+ -105. Now, you take a look at the teams that are hitting, man. Obviously the Dodgers are up there. Obviously the Yankees are up there. The Chicago Cubs, give them credit, man. This team is scoring a bunch of runs. In fact, they actually lead Major League Baseball in runs scored now. Wow. They played 2 extra games than everybody but Los Angeles. Still, they're scoring a lot of runs, man. So I like that one. I think the Mets today could be a solid play, whether you want to bet the team or, somebody like, Marte, Juan Soto, really. Mm-hmm. Juan Soto could have himself a really nice game. But I'll say this, and you guys have dealt with it the same as we have here in Nashville, with storms, and certainly hope everybody's okay after that. Pay attention to that weather storm because it's real. There's crazy wind, basically from the Midwest to the east that you want to pay attention to, and it's not good for hitting. A lot of, ballparks, the wind is blowing in today, but it'll flip tomorrow and it's blowing out. So keep an eye on unders today, and then Saturday, ton of runs across Major League Baseball. You're going to see a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Looking at some of these teams, you mentioned the Braves, 0-7 to start the season. It looks like at least Vegas is thinking that they'll win tonight, minus 240 money line tonight against the Marlins. But another team that sticks out to me is the Mariners, a team that right now 3-4. They're up 1-0 early against the Giants, but a team that we know their pitching staff is phenomenal, but the bats are extremely cold right now. I saw a stat last night that said, as a team, the Mariners are batting like 175 right now, and the only team batting worse than them are the 0-7 Braves. When you look at some of these offenses that are struggling, the Braves, the Mariners, when do you think those offenses, when's a good time to back those offenses? At some point, you got to feel like they're going to come around eventually.
Yeah, I think the Braves come alive tonight. I mean, they're finally getting to play at home. And not saying it's going to be some explosion, but yeah, man, I mean, understand, like, some of these numbers can be fool's gold in terms of betting.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you're like, be careful, man, like, because you see it, but they're going to come alive. I'll give you another example. The Philadelphia Phillies, right? Like, they are literally on the precipice of going nuclear at the plate and scoring a ton of runs, but they're flipping their lineup, right? They've got Schwarber hitting fourth, hitting first, and you're seeing a lot of teams that are doing that. So, the Mariners have not always been a team that scores a ton of runs anyway, so it's a little surprising, but not much. But it's going to come to a point here pretty soon in the next week that you'll see these teams that aren't hitting well, that have good lineups, that will, because they're going to, mess around and tinker with, 1 through 4 in the lineup, and they'll find something that works. So don't write them off just yet. But like you said, man, be careful with them, because if they're not scoring right now, like, it'll happen at some point. But, buddy, you don't want to be the one that's betting for it to happen over and over over, waiting on it. Yeah, be careful with it for sure. That's a good eye.
Is there anything you like tonight in college baseball? Kind of the same thing you were mentioning with a lot of these storms. I know some of the games are getting postponed. I know Ole Miss was supposed to start last night against Kentucky. They're now playing a doubleheader today. Is there anything you like in college baseball, or anything to keep an eye in college baseball?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. If you're looking for a fun game to watch, all right, Ohio State at Southern Cal, all right, great hitting weather out there in Los Angeles, wind blowing nice, a lot of humidity. It feels like Tennessee is out there, like the weather-wise, right? So two teams that can absolutely hit and have been doing it. Yeah, if you're looking for an over 13.5, that's a solid one. Alabama against Auburn, big matchup. Alabama baseball team does not get the credit that it deserves. They are phenomenal, man. They are really, really good. Auburn is too, but Alabama is just a monster waiting to happen. So I like Alabama to win that game. And then you got the national championship from last year. All right, Texas A&M is in Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Yeah, I like Tennessee here. Those two teams are in two completely different places right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Speaking of Texas A&M, were you surprised Chris Beard, after it felt like all signs were pointing to him accepting the Texas A&M job? Were you surprised when he turned it down and sticking with Ole Miss? Looks like he'll get a raise, more NIL money for his program. Did that surprise you?
No. What he did is he played the game nicely.
Sure did.
That's exactly what you do. Get yourself paid, get your boys paid, and get some money in the program. No, when it first came up, I was like, why would you leave? You're in a great spot. Don't do it. And then he didn't, and I was like, oh, yeah, his agent cooked this one up. That was a good play by him.
Yeah, no, he played that one as well as you can. Well, Alan, as always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next Friday.
Look forward to it, buddy. Have a good weekend, man. Take care.
Thanks, Alan. Right back at you. Alan Bell, he joins us every single Friday to talk all things wagering. A lot of plays, a lot of things to keep an eye on this weekend when it comes to college basketball and some baseball action. Let's go ahead and get to another break. And when we return, we got to talk about the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Miami Heat. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Elwood Shack in the Lowe's parking lot on summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwoods. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, either beef brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood's even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now with 2 locations and open every day for you.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat of your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for your loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill. Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com. Now, back to Sports Time. Sports Witnesses. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Star Sports Brian Davis.
Well, we have a few minutes left in this hour. We need to talk about the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Miami Heat. Snaps 4-game losing streak, a much-needed win over an Eastern Conference team. We talked about it yesterday. Was last night a must-win for the Grizzlies? It felt pretty close to must-win as you can possibly get to if you're not going to call it a must-win, and it kind of fit everything that the Grizzlies have had success against this year. Teams below 500. They had a really good record against that Eastern Conference teams. The Grizzlies had a pretty good record against those type of teams. And so I think you felt good, especially being a 5.5-point favorite against this Heat team. Heat coming off of a back-to-back. Is the second leg of a back-to-back after beating Boston the previous night. But the game kind of played out the way that, maybe a lot of people didn't think it was going to play out. Maybe they did. Certainly after we talked about it and seeing what the Heat had done over the last 6 games, that 6-game winning streak, I was not surprised the way that Miami came out, jumped out to a very early lead. Bam Adebayo was fantastic last night, especially early. He was making his presence felt almost immediately. But the Grizzlies, they were able to keep Miami in check. Only 23 points allowed in the second quarter. They trailed by 1 at the half, then came out in the third quarter, played much better, got the lead in the third quarter, and then the teams went back and forth for most of the second half, ultimately leading to that sequence we talked about earlier. Bam Adebayo blocks a layup attempt from Ja Morant on the other end. Tyler Hero knocks down a mid-range jumper, and then the Grizzlies get the ball to Ja Morant after a timeout. He takes to the lane, step back, hits a jumper. He finished with 30 points last night, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. 3 for 7 from 3, so he was shooting the ball pretty well from 3. He's been shooting the ball relatively well over the last 2 or 3 games. But you look at maybe the big story of the night, it was Coach Isolo leaving the stars out there with fouls. Jaren Jackson Jr., 5 fouls, played 37 minutes, picked up that 5th foul a little more than midway through the fourth quarter, so it was late in the game, but he picked up that 4th foul with about 8 minutes left in the game. Coach Isolo leaves him out there, lets him finish the game. Same with Ja Morant, who finished with 4 fouls. So both those guys in foul trouble, but instead of pulling them, you leave them out there. You hope that they're able to play through it, and they were definitely able to do that. Another guy that has been really impressing me lately is Scottie Pippen Jr. 17 points for him last night, 7 assists. He is playing extremely well in this backup point guard role, and I know a lot of people have been taking notice of it. I mean, this is not a one-game thing. You look at that game against Golden State, had 10 points off the bench. A couple games ago against the Lakers, 16 points, 5 assists. Before that, at Oklahoma City, 17 points, 7 assists, 5 steals. Before that, at Utah, the last win, 16 points, 10 assists. Before that, against the Clippers, 15 points, 5 assists. Before that, 18 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds against Portland. So, I mean, he has really been on a tear really over the last month or so. I mean, he's playing really well in this backup point guard role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you knew this, but I grew up a Scottie Pippen fan.
Okay.
I was all about him, and so much so that I feel like Scottie Pippen complimented Michael Jordan so well that Scottie Pippen gets left out of the GOAT talk a whole lot. He's definitely not. But I think he deserves a lot more credit than he's due. But to see that, Scottie Pippen Jr. doesn't have the height that his father does, but that he's balling out there, and especially the role that Scottie Pippen Jr. is playing right now, because with the Grizzlies, we had what was arguably the greatest backup point guard maybe of all time in Tyus Jones. And then when Tyus Jones left that gap, and then Scottie Pippen came in, I mean, dudes in the NFL are not going to be on every single night. Right. They're going to have some nights where they're not playing super well. I mean, even just thinking back, we just played the Warriors where Steph Curry was just firing on all cylinders. We go back to, I think it was one of the last times that you and I were co-hosting, where Steph Curry was struggling to do anything against the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies just absolutely dominated on the paint last night, or in that game. So Scottie Pippen has definitely turned around the whole thing, and I know yesterday I talked about like the whole bench production and whatnot, and if you go and you look at the box score, we had only 4 players. A lot of it did not play due to coaches' decisions. I mean, what that decision is, that's for him to make. I'm not the coach, so go for it, Isolo. Do what you got to do. But for the people who did get in, for the people who did play, I feel like they contributed majorly. And like you've been saying, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been a huge contributor for our team. He's really stepped into that role, really filled those shoes that Tyus Jones left. And I think if we keep him, and hopefully the no sticks true to Ja being traded, I still think we got a power duo right there.
Yeah, no, they've been playing well. I think, last thing, you got to love the way Zach Edey's been rebounding. And I'm a guy that I didn't want the Grizzlies to draft Zach Edey, but you look over these last couple of games, a double-double against Golden State, and a lot of that came in the second half. But 16 rebounds against Golden State. Last night against Miami, finished with 13. That's really what you want him to do out there, is go in and being able to grab those rebounds, be able to be that defensive big around the rim. And I think you saw a lot of that last night against Miami. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this first hour. And when we return, talking some more wagering with Bruce Marshall.
At the Home Depot, Spring Black Friday is here, and we've got 14 days of deals to transform your space. So what are you working on? How about a quick and stylish parade furniture update? It's outdoor dining opportunity. Find a wide selection of grills under
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's starting to build even more on 240 going eastbound from Mill Branch out to 385 as you head south of Memphis. So far, so good. Just watch your speed on 55 down through certain parts of DeSoto County and also in parts of South Haven as well. Hey, if your lawn needs a little bit of help this time of the year, you want to make it greener, healthier, call Lawn Solutions 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Joining the guys every Friday is college football historian and Vegas legend, Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insiders, CBS Sports, and his own website, VegasSports.net, with over 30 years on Memphis radio. SportsTime, Bruce Marshall, with Brian and
Bruce Marshall joins us every Friday to talk wagering from Vegas Insider and CBS Sports. He joins us now. A lot to get to with Bruce Marshall. But, Bruce, I want to start off with this. Well, Landon and I have been talking about it for a lot of today's show. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Brett forwarded me this email from betonline.ag talking about how they have odds on betonline.ag for Ja Morant's future. Will the Grizzlies trade Ja Morant before the start of the 2025-26 NBA season? According to betonline.ag, yes is minus 300, no plus 200. What do you think about these odds and the future of Ja Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies?
Well, I think those odds are probably about right. I'm not going to recommend anybody bet them. There's not much value. I think, I guess the value would be on the no. but my gut feel is they'll probably move him.
Wow.
And some of the things going on with the Grizzlies now, it just looks like this sort of change of philosophy there, and the way they seem to have adopted some of the the analytic part of it, and I think that was part of they never should have kept, or Taylor Jenkins probably might wish that he just stepped away before the season or worked out some negotiated settlement. It just they make the changes they made philosophically, it looks like a clean break, and I think that would have something to do with Ja. So it's just the direction of the franchise now. Personally, I've always thought Josh would leave Memphis. I think he's had some problems off the court. Just get out of there, go somewhere else, and start anew. He can still have a great career. But I think for his own good, just my own personal thought, he should go somewhere else. And it looks like the franchise looks like it's in a period of adjustment here now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did make that move. We'll see.
Yeah, there are definitely things changing within the organization, but Grizzlies get a win last night, a much-needed win. Speaking of the NBA, before we get to the Final Four, is there anything you like tonight or this weekend in the NBA? Obviously getting closer to the playoffs. Anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah, some of these teams that are really going bad now. Utah's won tonight. I think they're doing the T word now. It ends with a K, and it's also got an A and an N in there. They're keeping. I think they've made no attempt to rush Lauri Markkanen or John Collins back. I think Walker Kessler's been a healthy scratch. Clarkson's been out. I mean, it's a skeleton team. They are taking some ferocious beatings, and it looks like they are hell bent to be in position to have the best chance in the lottery. It's them and Washington look like they have the best chances at the top pick, and that seems to be their goal. So you're having to lay a lot of points against them now, but we saw Houston have to lay a lot the other night and beat them by 40-plus points. It's the Pacers tonight. We're still not quite to the point where these teams that are playoff bound but are still sort of playing for position in the playoffs where they're going to take their foot off the pedal. We might see that the last game or two of the regular season and guys rest, but not quite yet. The Pacers did just score 162 last week on the Wiz, so I think I'd probably lay it with Indiana. I'm really fascinated by this Golden State game with Denver tonight. It's been a wild week with Denver. We had that double overtime game where the Joker at 61, triple-double. I mean, it's just an incredible night, but they still lost. Minnesota got them, and they really flat the next night against San Antonio. Warriors have won 4 straight. They did win last night against the Lakers in L.A., so you wonder about the quick turnaround here. But about 2.5 weeks ago, they had that game at home against the Nuggets when Denver was minus the Joker and Jamal Murray, and was a pretty big underdog, and stunned the Warriors, even shorthanded, and that, I think, sort of sticks in Golden State's craw. I think the Warriors are really an interesting-looking team since the Butler trade. I might look at the Warriors tonight. I just don't know that Denver's got enough in the tank like they've had they had 2 years ago for sure. One more, I might just ride the Clippers here too. They have been playing really well. They've been in a real drive for about 3 weeks now. They've covered 9 of their last 11. They are fighting to miss the play-in round, but they've still got a shot even to win the Pacific, especially with the Lakers losing last night. Dallas tonight comes in. I'm not sure about AD if he's going to play. Dallas does have a few wins, and they look like they'd be a play-in team, but most of their recent wins have been against, most of them, not all, but almost most of them have been against mid-tier, lower-tier sort of teams. The Clippers, I think, are a top-tier team now. I'll lay it with the Clippers tonight.
I like it. Let's go over to college basketball. To the Final Four gets kicked off tomorrow night. I'm curious. I know there's a stat going around that in the KenPom era, since he's been tracking all of this stuff, the top 10 teams on KenPom, 4 of them are the 4 teams playing this weekend in the Final Four. When you think back of all the teams that have been in the Final Four, where do these 4 teams rank among some of the best Final Four teams?
That's a hard one to answer, Brian. Looks real good. no mystery. I think my wife could have picked these top four to make the Final Four.
Right.
So, I mean, they did seem like the four best, unless you wanted to stick one of those other SEC sides in there. So that's not much of a mystery. Well, I mean, we'll see. I think we have to kind of wait to see how these games play. It's funny, you know, by me, I mean, a great Final Four by me, you know, if the games are great, I don't want, like UConn 2 years ago, lesser extent last year, but just to kind of roll through. That's not that much fun. I want a little bit more drama. Villanova, when they won it in 18, they just kind of rolled their way through. That might have been a great Final Four, too, but, you know, I like the exciting ones. I mean, I think back when, you know, when Valvano won, with the one in New Orleans, Michael Jordan's freshman year, there was a great final against Georgetown, Patrick Ewing. The Valvano year, the Villanova year against Georgetown in '85 in Lexington. So I think we have to sort of wait. To judge it, I would rather wait to see how the games play rather than greatness of teams in there. Because sometimes if you get a team that is that much better, it doesn't make for great viewing. I guess Duke would be the one you could see maybe doing that this weekend. But even if they roll through, I don't know if we can say it's a great Final Four. The quality of the games will determine that. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, let's start with Duke and their game. It's the second game tomorrow night on CBS. Right now, Duke a 5.5-point favorite. The total, maybe one of the lower totals we've seen in the tournament at 136.5. What do you like here?
Yeah, I know Houston's defense, you know, and they you know, those games last weekend were kind of grinders up there in Indy. Certainly, I mean, Tennessee grinded to a halt. I still think this total's a little bit low. I mean, I really want Houston to win. I don't like Duke. I'm not the only guy to say that. And I like Kelvin Sampson, and I'm old enough to remember when Houston started going to Final Fours in the 60s. And, you know, they've been with Elvin Hayes. They've been 6 times before. A couple with Elvin Hayes. They went 3 in a row there in the 80s, the Olajuwon Drexler teams, and they didn't get there. And then Sampson won a few years ago. They haven't won it yet. You know, compared to some of those other sides, no, I don't think this is as good a Houston team. Can they win? They could. And we saw what happened when a team like Tennessee just sort of froze on Sunday when, you know, they just started settling for outside shots. When a team tries to play through Houston and that jarring defense out there on the perimeter, that can be a problem. I think Duke can avoid that by playing over Houston's defense. They got so much length on the floor, not just Flag, but Knupel, Malawach. They don't have to play through them. They can play over them. And I think that'll open up some more things. It's not just Flag either. I mean, you look at an NBA draft board here. I mean, Knupel and Malawach are both potential lottery picks themselves. So what do you got, 3 lottery picks maybe in the lineup? They're all freshmen, I mean, but they're really good. I just think Duke's going to probably win. I hate to say that, but I'd probably lay the points, and I would probably look over as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think another thing, you know, we heard, and I think it's changing a little bit the more people are watching them in the tournament. But, you know, a lot early in the season was this is a very young team because we heard so much about these freshmen. But you look at the way Duke has built this roster. They brought in these 4 freshmen, 3 that are in the starting lineup, 3 that look like they'll be lottery picks. But then they put a lot of veteran pieces around. I mean, Sion James, who, you know, played 3 or 4 years at Tulane before going to Duke. Mason Gillis, who was just in the national championship with Purdue last year, you know, now a backup player for Duke. So I really love the way that John Shire has built this roster. And when you look at John Shire, what do you make of what he has done, you know, really through his first 3 seasons since having to take over for Coach K?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, nobody's really... I think the whole telecast last week, I don't know if they mentioned Krzyzewski's name once.
Yeah.
I mean, so now it's his program now, so credit to him. I mean, he does know what he's doing. And you made an important point there. It's how you put the roster together. I mean, there's a lot of good players, great players around the country, but they seem to have fit these pieces in there. And getting the transfer from Tulane in there, Gillis, also Proctor. I mean, those guys who came in, they give them a little more, some physicality to them. Those freshmen can bang around a bit too. So I think I think they're strong enough not to get knocked off their pins by Houston too. But I think Shire's done superbly, and it's listen, Shire's a hard guy to dislike. I mean, he's got a wife and kids. He never says anything wrong. Clean liver. He's a basketball all the way. So you can't dislike him. It's just
it's that program.
He's a dislike Luke, but not him.
That's right. Let's go to the other game. Florida and Auburn will get us started tomorrow on CBS. Right now, Florida, 2.5-point favorite, total at 159.5. This is a Florida team that's already beaten Auburn once this year on the road. What do you expect to see in this one?
I think they can do it again. And now we might have talked about this back in February when they won at Auburn, but I think that was like the real signal to me, like, okay, these guys, there's something going on here. Because at that point, Brian, if you remember, I'm sure you do, because I think we talked about it. Auburn had won 14 in a row. They were number one in the country. They were flying as high as they were all season. And once Florida got a grip of that game late first half, they were in control. Auburn never really made a real push at them in the second half, and they were clearly the winner there. And Janae Broom was there; he was healthy that game, and I dare say Auburn hasn't peaked. Well, first week in February or so.
Sure.
And I'm just not sure right now they're hitting on all cylinders. I know they won those games last weekend, but they didn't close the regular season all that hot. The sub-regional, they were very sluggish against Alabama State. Took them a while to get Creighton down, and I think that game actually played closer than the final score. And then last weekend, I don't know how Michigan let them back in the game. Michigan had them dead to rights, it looked like. And I really thought Michigan State, they were there for the taking against Michigan State, although they had that really slow start, and they were out 15-point lead, but they could not expand that. Michigan State kept chiseling and had a lot of chances. I thought to yank that thing closer. They couldn't quite do it. Broom is the other thing here. He says his arm is okay. I guess he was at practice today, public practice. We'll see in the game. He couldn't even pick up that right arm. I know he shoots with his left, but we'll see if he's compromised any with that. But Florida, the way it has looked into the abyss a couple times here, and pulled out, especially the Texas Tech game when Clayton started to look like Steph Curry down the stretch last week. They have depth, they have length, great matchup there against Auburn, and they've sort of come through the fire here. They seem to be peaking. This momentum has continued, and they were the better team at the end of the season, and I think they're the better team now, so I'm going to take Florida to get there Monday night. Yeah,
it's going to be two really fun games. Speaking of college basketball, the big news kind of during this week has been what Texas A&M is going to do now that they have a head coach opening. It felt like there for a second, Chris Beard was the guy. There were a lot of rumors out there that it was all but done that he was going to agree to be the next head coach at Texas A&M. Were you surprised when it became official that he turned that offer down and would remain at Ole Miss?
I was, although Brett tells me he signed a deal here, an extent, a 6-year deal, and he wants to do at Ole Miss what Bruce Pearl did at Auburn. So we'll see. I was a little bit surprised at that, but it was I can see Beard's got a pretty good deal, and he's bounced around enough. So. I could see him not wanting to move. Where will they look now? I'm not sure. Would they go to Grant McCaslin? I think he's a master coach. I think they can. Texas Tech's done a bad job now, and they're paying money there now. But I think A&M, if that's what it comes down to, I think that's what they could do. Some other names you're hearing out there, Brad Underwood did coach in Texas for a bit at Stephen F. Austin. Would he be a guy to come back down from Illinois? He seems to like Illinois a lot, so I'm not sure he'd do that. Chris Jans, Mississippi State, maybe. The guy from Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State, though he's only been there 1 year, but he won at Corpus Christi in Western Kentucky before. Alan Huss at High Point seems to keep getting mentioned. But I think A&M thought they were going to nail Buzz, and they'd bring him in, and it didn't work. So they got to kind of go back to the drawing board. We'll see if this even happens before the weekend. It might go a little bit further. We'll see.
Yeah, you're right, because it felt like moving fast, a lot of, reporting and rumors that, Chris Beard was going to be the guy. They were going to get it done. And ever since it came out that Chris Beard wasn't going to take that job, it's been silent from Texas A&M. We haven't heard any really big names jump out as kind of leading candidates or guys that they're trying to go after. It really has kind of slowed down ever since they didn't land Chris Beard. So I'm with you. I think they thought they had him. Talking to Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insider, CBS Sports. He joins us every single Friday. Before we let you go, anything in Major League Baseball that you like tonight or into the weekend?
Well, yeah, there's a few. I mean, you got to look at this thing with the Reds not scoring runs, and they're not giving up any either. I mean, it's the first team in 65 years that got shut out 1-0 3 nights in a row.
Oh, wow.
So here we are in Milwaukee tonight, and in Milwaukee, talk about bipolar. They had that terrible run with the pitchers the first 4 games, gave up 47 runs, in 4 games out of the chute. That was tied for the worst in modern MLB history, but now they've only allowed 2 or 3 the last 3, and they've won. So I'm going to look under there. If you can find 8.5, definitely even 8. I might look under that. Note Nick Martinez, the starter for the Reds, down the stretch last year. He was going at least 6 innings most of his starts. And it looks like Pat Murphy's going to go with the bullpen game tonight. But the way the Reds just aren't hitting right now, I don't think you can put them down for too many runs. Might look at Cleveland and the Angels under. Soriano pitched very well for the Angels. So he's only against the White Sox last week. Angel offense has been a little sluggish. They did score some runs in extra innings against St. Louis this week, but Mike Trout yet to get going. Gavin Williams, not bad for Cleveland on the mound, and they got a police escort to get out of San Diego with the Padres, so I think they'll enjoy being in Anaheim, but maybe a lower scoring there. Game of the night, Phillies and Dodgers. I'd give the Phillies a shot here. I know the Dodgers haven't lost yet, but the Phils are 5-1. They haven't lost at home yet. They just swept the Rockies out. When are you going to get the Phillies as a home underdog this year? Luzardo pitched pretty impressively in his debut last week at Washington, 11 Ks in 5 innings. And the Dodgers, for all this stuff here, I know they're winning, but they've had to come back in 5 of those 6 games on this homestand. They looked out of it in a couple. I mean, credit to them for finding a way back, but they are not exactly steamrolling these teams. So I think tonight that win streak ends for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and they'll be without their first baseman, Freddie Freeman. He's on IL now after re-injuring his ankle, so they'll be without one of their big bats. So I definitely like that. I thought the Braves were going to get him the other night, and then you had Shohei come up and do Shohei things in the bottom of the ninth. So, yeah, I like that. Maybe the Phillies can get them tonight. Bruce, before we let you go, where can we find more of you?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Check me out online, old places, vegasinsider.com for picks. Also, CBS Sportsline, sportsline.com. Picks there, too. And also the new place for picks with a different twist up there at picksandparlays.com and winnersandwhiners.com.
Bruce, good luck this weekend. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you again next Friday.
Okay, Brian. Thanks.
Thanks, Bruce. Bruce Marshall joining us to talk some wagering, a little bit of everything, some NBA, college basketball, and even some Major League Baseball. Speaking of Major League Baseball, your Mets 5-0 over the Blue Jays right now. So I can't speak. The Cardinals have given up 13 runs to the Red Sox. So should have bet the over in that game. 13-9 right now, the score of that one. So yeah.
Well, what does Brett like to say? 160-2 ain't gonna be too bad, right?
I guess I guess so. It'd be 3. So I don't know what the 160-3 would do for you. It's certainly not as good as 161-2. No, 160-2. It'd be 159. And
yeah,
I'm not good at math. I didn't know we were doing math today on the show.
That's all right.
So I didn't come prepared. But speaking of which, we've talked a lot of wagering. A little bit later in the show, we're going to have to do Showboat Bankroll. So don't let me forget about that.
I will not.
You know what? Why not? Let's just do it right now.
Okay, fine.
Let's do it right now. I just saw
I fulfilled my job.
The little banner on the top of ESPN promoting the game tomorrow night. Showboats, DC Defenders, 7 p.m. You can find that game on ABC. So prime time for the Showboats. Right now, the line for tomorrow's game is DC, who started the season 1-0, 7.5-point favorite. Who you got, Landon?
7.5-point favorites.
7.5-point favorites. Sorry, I'm trying to get my iPad so I can write everybody's picks down.
Yeah, mark it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Man. That's the number we're going with, because I'm seeing this other one says -8.
We're gonna do 7.5.
7.5. Okay. You know what? Give me the DC Defenders.
All right,
okay. Well, I'm holding on. Well, you rushing me? No, you're not rushing me. I don't know what to do anymore.
All right. Landon is gonna take.
I'm gonna take the
DC.
Defenders.
All right.
And I'm not over the moon about all of it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to keep it a solid 100.
A solid $100. All right. Brett is going to take DC, and he's going to take them for $200.
I had to double my money, I guess.
He's a little more confident in DC than you are. So we saw the Showboats over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it looked good defensively. Offense could use some work.
Yeah.
Maybe if you stick with one quarterback this weekend. I know E.J. Perry is listed as the starting quarterback for tomorrow's game, but I don't know. I think he was also listed as the starting quarterback for last week's game, so I don't know if that really means anything. I think that we could still see them going back and forth with the quarterbacks. On the other side, Jordan Teamu, the former Ole Miss quarterback, he's the starting quarterback for the DC Defenders.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say it's another close game. I'm going to take the Showboats. Maybe I'm just doing it to go against y'all.
Yeah, I think you are.
I'm going to take the Showboats for $100.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm not confident in it.
Best of luck to you, then.
I'm not confident in it, but I'll try it. So I have the Showboats, $100. Brett, he's taking DC for $200. Landon, you are also taking DC for $100. Again, if you're not familiar with Showboat Bankroll, this is not Tiger Bankroll. We're done with Tiger Bankroll. Boat Bankroll. We all start out with $1,000. We bet every Showboats game, and we see who has the most money at the end of the season. But game 2 tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on ABC. Showboats versus the DC Defenders, a road game, but we talked with Steve Macy yesterday. Go out to Ghost River tomorrow night. It is the official spot for all of the road game watch parties for the Memphis Showboats. So head out there. They've got the new Showboats Touchdown beer. Give that a try and support the Showboats. Well, before we get to a commercial here, spring, it is finally here. Weather outside is not great, but spring has definitely, it's here, and it's the perfect time to head out to Frontier Western Store so you can walk into the new season in style. Family owned and operated since 1967, Frontier Western is your one-stop shop for the biggest brands like Carhartt, Wrangler, and so much more. Check out Frontier's world-famous boot showroom. Whether it's work boots or dress boots, Frontier has you covered for the entire family with plenty of in-stock proven classics like Ariat, Dan Post, and Durango, just to name a few. Frontier Western Store is the one-stop shop for Carhartt in the Mid-South, and they also have you covered with thousands of new shirts and jeans. You need a new pair of jeans? Frontier has you covered with the newest selection from Wrangler and Ariat, and you'll love how easy it is to find your size and style. Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know you'll be getting the best deals. Head down to 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch to check out the whole selection. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Frontier Western Store. Well, let's get to another break, and when we return, we're going to talk SEC and the Arkansas Razorbacks with Ty Richardson.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning.
My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
At the Home Depot, Spring Black Friday is here, and we've got 14 days of deals to transform your space. So what are you working on? How about a quick and stylish buy for a furniture update? What's outdoor dining box? Find a wide selection of grills under
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. Miramichi is now open on Mondays, and you'll find the lowest rate is on Thursday. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's building pretty good on 240 East from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. It's Friday. Give yourself plenty of extra travel time. Watch for radar again today. I-40 out through parts of Fayette County, especially around New Airline Road. Weimer's Jewelry is your diamond engagement ring headquarters. Go see them this weekend and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Talk Razorbacks on Sports Time. Joining the guys is Ty Richardson from ESPN Arkansas to talk all things Hogs and SEC. On Twitter X at Ty Sports Radio, here's Ty Richardson with Bryant and Brett.
Come on, all you Razorback fans, let's stand up and call those Hogs!
Ty Richardson joins us now from ESPN Arkansas to talk the Razorbacks and the SEC. Ty, thanks so much for joining us. Let's start with the Razorbacks before we get into this Final Four SEC matchup. Last week, we kind of put a wrap on the season as a whole with Arkansas getting knocked out. But now to the offseason, what do you expect to happen with this Arkansas team? What has already happened since offseason started? I know I saw Boogie Fland earlier this afternoon announced that he was declaring for the NBA draft. What do you expect to see in the next couple of weeks for Razorback basketball?
Man, I think you're going to see some incoming guys because right now it's just been departures. Brian, you brought up the most notable news of the day. Boogie heading off to the NBA, Big Z earlier this week. So after that, hopefully by next week, you'll start to see some guys coming in. You've got the national championship. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to guess Cal's in San Antonio or around this weekend. So it's always entertaining this time of year. And it's only been elevated with the addition of the transfer portal and what college basketball fans are trying to monitor right now.
Yeah, trying to monitor all of it because it's just so much going on seemingly at once. You mentioned Big Z entering the transfer portal. What type of home do you expect him to find? Is that a guy that you think lands at another one of these high major schools? Does he maybe go down a level? What is the type of environment you see him playing at next year?
I mean, I think he ends up at Illinois with his brother.
Yeah.
I don't have any indication of that. It's just it's a plain guess, but that's what I'm kind of thinking, Brian.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, and you're right. His brother, a pretty good season up at Illinois this year. So yeah, that'd be cool to see them link up. Who are some guys? Are there any names out there of guys that Cal's already tried to reach out to that Arkansas is interested in the transfer portal?
I know the names that Arkansas fans follow is like Keyshawn Hall, the kid that I don't know if he committed or signed with Auburn.
Yeah, I think he committed to Auburn.
Okay, maybe he didn't sign. Maybe I misread that. Morris Johnson, the kid that either signed or committed to Michigan, are kind of the notable names. There's this kid from Sam Houston State. It's an Ashdown, Arkansas native. Some of your listeners are familiar with that area in Arkansas. But after that, there's just names you see on social media. Like, just because someone says that there's mutual interest or there's interest from one party doesn't make it true. So sometimes it's just hard to really gauge what's factual and what is not whatsoever, Brian. And I know you got to do that all the time as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, over here at Memphis, I mean, there have been, I think at least, I've been trying to keep up with most of them, but I think at least 40 guys that there has been stuff put out that Memphis is interested, has shown interest in them. So either Penny Hardaway is casting a super wide net this offseason, or like you said, some of these guys that you see, it's being reported there's interest in there. Not every single time that is that's the most accurate thing out there. But the transfer portal, it is the wild, wild west, and you're trying to keep up with all of it the best you can. Looking at the Final Four, we do have this SEC matchup tomorrow night, Auburn, Florida. That means the SEC will have one team in the national championship game. So 50-50 shot of cutting down the nets being a team from the SEC. What do you expect to see in this matchup tomorrow night for Auburn and Florida? Florida already beat them once on the road, a game where they were missing Elijah Martin, one of their better players. What do you expect to see tomorrow night?
I think the Gators beat them again. Wow. Brian, I don't want that to happen. I'd rather see Auburn win, but I think Florida's just going to be too much. I know what Bruce Pearl said about Deni Broom and his health this week. He's ready to go, good to go. I don't see it. And that front line might be the best in college basketball that Florida has. So I think Todd Golden and company move on to the national championship. And then on the other side, I got Duke beating Houston. Now, if I could snap my fingers and make something happen, I'd like to see Auburn and Houston play for the championship and Houston win. But I think both of the teams that I don't want to win, even though I picked Florida in my bracket to win it all, are going to advance to Monday night.
Yeah. I mean, I think, any way it falls out, I'm going to be excited because I do think these are, four really, really talented teams. But I'm kind of with you. I would not mind to see Auburn and Houston. Certainly Houston. I mean, the amount of times Memphis has seen Kelvin Sampson in that Houston team over the years, I would love to see Kelvin Sampson kind of get over that hump and win a national championship. I know you've said this with us before, but in your opinion, this is, and Brett shares this opinion, this is pass-fail. It's either, a great season for the SEC if they win the national championship, or it's not if they come up short. Is that accurate?
Oh, wholeheartedly, Brian. I don't think Brett and I have agreed on anything more in our entire lives than that thought. So I hate in today's society and participation. It's really hard to say that a team that made it all the way to the national championship is a participation trophy group. But I mean, we come back to the SEC it prides itself on championships, and you can't not have that same thought for basketball just because it's been a while. So you have to it's the exact same thing as baseball and football, and you can make a case for women's basketball and others, but mainly you think about baseball and football, and now basketball can at least put itself in the conversation if Auburn or Florida cut down the nets Monday night.
Yeah, it's a really good point because, that success just in this century hasn't really been there for basketball. You have a couple of champions, but, I mean, time's marching on since Kentucky and Cal did it, and, you really haven't had, a team here or there making the Final Four, but really nothing crazy out there. So now a big opportunity, and, it feels like with what Florida is building down there, Florida feels like a program that could be around for the next couple of years under Todd Golden.
I completely agree. Look at the timelines of Golden and Billy Donovan.
Yeah.
Billy Donovan was 40 when he won his first, and he followed it up with the second. Golden's 39. So there's similarities, and that's annoying to think about as an Arkansas guy because you kind of thought Florida was dormant for a little bit, but that's not the case. I mean, Golden is you got the West Coast roots, and yet he's finding some success down there in Gainesville, Florida, and I don't anticipate it going away anytime soon.
No. Well, and kind of to another coach that's having success in the Final Four, Jon Scheyer, I'll say this. I know you just kind of talked about Duke and not wanting them to get to the national championship. I am one that I feel like I'm in the minority. I have no problem with Duke. I enjoy watching them play. I enjoy the guys that go to school there and play for their basketball team. It's so much so that Brett calls me a Duke fan. I am not a Duke fan. I just don't hate them. And I feel like that is in the rare minority when it comes to most college basketball fans. But I have heard a lot of people that share that Duke hatred say that, well, Jon Scheyer, it's hard to dislike him. He's a very likable coach. Do you share that opinion that maybe things are changing a little bit with Jon Scheyer as the head coach?
So I think it's interesting. I've listened to former Razorback Patrick Beverly talk about this. Shirer's a Chicago kid, and apparently was just a dog in high school. Like, just an incredible player. I believe, I'm pretty sure P-Bev talked about this on his podcast, that like a basketball injury kind of stopped his NBA career, and now he's coached under Coach K, and then basically took over the head coaching job. So I think there's a lot of respect from former Dukies in that sense. And I think he has the respect for the college basketball just because the kid could actually play. Like, it'd be one, and I say kid, he's older than me. It'd be one thing if he couldn't play. There's just an additional respect level when you're bringing your team to a Final Four in the third season and you actually can hoop a little bit. Like, as players, I mean, if you watch them do warm-ups and stuff, or occasionally they'll shoot, and like there was a respect level there. So, and not that there wasn't with Coach K. I don't want people to put words in my mouth. He's revered, and I didn't like him because he's the Duke head coach. But I think in the situation you presented, is Duke more likable? Scheyer made them more likable. You could make a case for that, but I mean, Cooper Flag's just the classic. Let's just call it like the white kid that we have to hate. Yeah. Like as the Duke, you pick one. Grayson Allen, JJ Redick, Christian Laettner. Like it's just part of it. And Cooper Flag is unbelievable. But there's still plenty of things that you can dislike about Duke basketball. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how many Memphis residents are fans of Duke. Brian, I know that Stats probably messes with you a little bit about that. But I get where you're coming from. I do.
Sure. And yeah, I listened to that same podcast from Pat Beverly, and you're right, it was I just looked it up. He got poked in the eye in his second game of Summer League, his first season, and had to have surgery on his eye to suffer a tear in his retina. And after that, didn't really play much, had to have, I think, goggles to protect his eye, and then went overseas and played. But you're right, I think, having that kind of younger coach, certainly, you have that respect for Coach K, but I think Scheyer is more relatable to these guys. He's younger, he's closer in age to them. And, I think certainly having that background of, more recently playing basketball, I think that does garner a lot of respect around the league. And seeing some of those videos where he's just out there, guys are sitting there getting ready, stretching, and he's just throwing up threes and kind of turning around and like, yeah, you saw that. Like, it just feels like it's, a good culture he has over there at Duke right now, and they certainly have a really, really impressive team. It's going to be fun to watch tomorrow with both these games. I'm hoping that both of them are super high level. A couple more minutes left. I want to talk Arkansas baseball. We haven't talked much about the Razorbacks baseball team, but off to a really hot start this season. I don't know, are they playing today? Did we get rained out today?
It got rained out, Brian, and we're still waiting on updates on what the plan is tomorrow.
Wow.
And also Sunday as well. My guess is they try to play one tomorrow and they get two in on Sunday. I don't think it happens, but we'll see.
Wow. Yeah, and Missouri, a team that's really struggled this season. Carrick Jackson, who was here at Memphis, the head coach over at Missouri. But what have you seen from this Arkansas team? And right now, 27-3 on the year. This feels like another team that will have the hopes of getting to Omaha.
Yeah, the difference on this team, Brian, is this team can actually hit. And Dave's had some really good pitching teams over the years, so they've been good at hitting. But typically, they've been able to hit.
Yeah.
And that's like what's so encouraging about this team is they have been really good in that area, and so people are really excited about it. What they can do from at the plate, and now it's a matter of can you continue to string it together? So Missouri's 0-9 in the league, but they have Georgia, who's an awesome team this year. Wes Johnson's done a great job. They've got LSU, Texas, and Tennessee at the end of the season still remain on their schedule. So it's murder's row for the last 7 games. That's just what the SEC is right now.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. SEC basketball and SEC baseball and SEC football. I mean, this league has really gotten to the point where every single sport, it is very hard to get wins in conference play. So yeah, it's not going to be easy for them at all. But hopefully they can get some games in this weekend, improve on that record before, like you mentioned, that series on the road at Georgia next week. Those bats have been really hot this year for the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, Ty, I believe this is going to be our last regular visit with you of the season, so we have really appreciated you coming on every single week to talk the Razorbacks. Enjoy this time off from us. I guess we won't be bothering you every Friday, and we'll be checking back with you around football season.
Man, that sounds great. Brian, it's been a joy these last few years doing this every Friday with you and Pat, and have yourself a great weekend, okay, buddy?
Yeah, right back at you. Looking forward to catching back up with you in the fall. Ty Richardson, he joins us every single Friday to talk the Arkansas Razorbacks. Coming to an end today, we definitely thank Ty for being with us ever since, I would guess, I don't know, I know Brett would know the first Friday we had Ty. I'd expect we had him SEC Media Day for sure.
He's been here as long as I've been here.
Yeah, and you're not going to know what to do on Fridays without Ty.
I already don't know what to do.
I know we had him during SEC Media Days, and then I would say not too far after that, we started the weekly hits with him. Maybe it was SEC Media Days. Maybe he joined us every week following SEC Media Days. But always fun catching up with Ty, and like I mentioned, we'll catch back up with him in the fall. Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
In the air, and that means it's time to get your Choate's AC tune-up. Choate's has proudly served the Mid-South for 67 years, and to celebrate, we're offering our AC tune-up for just $67 per unit. Make sure your system is running efficiently before the summer heat arrives. But hurry, this special offer won't last long. And if you're thinking about upgrading your system, now's the time. Install a new Carrier HVAC system and choose your deal. Up to $2,100 in instant cool cash rebates, 60 months no interest financing, or free air duct cleaning with install. It's time to spring clean with Choate's and enjoy cleaner air, better comfort, and big savings. Call 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com to schedule your service today. Turn to the experts with Choate's and let our family serve your family.
Join the University of Memphis Athletic Department as they host the inaugural Power of Girls in Sports Clinic sponsored by FedEx. Held in the Lori Walton Family Basketball Center Saturday, April 12th, girls 3rd through 6th grade will join Tiger female student athletes and staff to learn life skills, build confidence, and develop a healthy lifestyle while participating in sports. Admission is free and the deadline to sign up is Monday, April 7th. Availability limited to the first 200 girls. Sign up at gotigersgo.com/PGSC.
I'm Gary York. I'm the Service Director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, window windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Pools, and more pools. Yes, it is pool time at Family Leisure. Family Leisure is already booking pool installs, so you need to buy now and get on that list. 24-foot pools start at $19.99 install. Liners are starting at $2.99. You're going to need some pool accessories, so they're all up to 20% off. Not quite ready for a pool? That's fine. Get a 5 or 6 person hot tub starting at under $7,000. You can also go for a swim spa or perhaps a cold plunge tub. Those are now $2,000 off. Get patio furniture up to 50% off on select sets. Buy your pool now. Get on that install list. Mention this commercial, and your install is free. It's underlined in the in bold print, so you know it's big. It's pool time at Family Leisure. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together. Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings along to you. Jenkins Floors of Hernando, Little Rock, and Cleveland, Mississippi specializes in flooring and carpet, tile, mattress, and shutters and blinds. Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdinger. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you just call tomorrow. You aren't getting anything because if you're on a dealer, you can hold you and say, I dropped the ball. For water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates not available in all states. Potential savings will vary. Sports time on Sports 56 and 95 once again, Brett Rosary and Ryan Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy. You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
All right, Landon, well, I have 2 big numbers today, and they are both NBA related. I'll start with the first one. It comes from last night's Warriors game, their win over the Lakers. My number is 13. The Warriors are now 13-0 this season with the starting lineup of Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski. Since the NBA-ABA merger, no starting 5 has started at least a dozen games together in a single regular season and finished undefeated. And it's kind of how rare this is, because usually when you see a team go with this many starts and it goes more than a dozen, they keep riding with it. At some point they lose. I'm sure this will lose, but there is a chance now because of how few games are left in the season. Maybe somebody isn't in that starting lineup. Maybe, they went out. Who knows? But because of how late they acquired Jimmy Butler, because of some other injuries and things like that, that kind of changed the starting lineup around, they've only played 13 games this season. They are 13-0 in those 13 games. So a chance, I think it's a long shot, but definitely a chance that they could be the first team to start at least a dozen games in a single regular season and finish undefeated. My second big number actually takes us back to something Bruce Marshall brought up with us, and it involves the Indiana Pacers. They're in action tonight against the Utah Jazz. Bruce Marshall said, take them. I think they're a 16.5-point favorite. He said, who cares? Take them. They put up 160-something the other day against the Wizards. Take this team, especially with how the Jazz have been struggling. So here's a number for you about the Indiana Pacers. The number is 100. The Pacers have scored at least 100 points in 104 consecutive home games, the second longest such streak in NBA history. The only NBA team with a longer streak is the Spurs, who did so in 106 straight home games between December 1978 and March 1981. So I know tonight, we already mentioned it, the Pacers play the Jazz at home. I wonder, because I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that they're going to score at least 100 points tonight against the Utah Jazz. Can we agree on that? They're going to score 100 points
easily
against the Utah Jazz. So who is their next home game against, and will they be able to score? I mean, nowadays, 100 points, it's kind of surprising.
That's commonplace.
That's right. Everyone's scoring 100 points, at least you think. At Denver, home against Washington, home against Cleveland, home against Orlando. So you have 4 home games left on the schedule. Utah tonight, Washington on Tuesday. So they're going to tie it on Tuesday. They're going to make it 106 on Tuesday. The next question is, can you score 100 points home against Cleveland? If you do that, you got the record.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. That's going to be a tight one because Cleveland is playing some of the best basketball.
Yeah, and they're good defensively.
Oh, I know.
So that could
That's
be
gonna
the
be
game
tough.
where it gets snapped.
Yeah, that might be the end.
Yeah,
a good run though.
Good run. That might be. We got to keep that in the back of our mind.
Yeah.
And know that that record's on the line, and so then we could bet because I'm sure the team total will be over 100 for that game.
Right.
You can bet the under and hope that you guess the right game and then they only tie it and don't say. Let's see what their team total is set for tonight. Let's see. Pacers, Jazz, team total. Where's team total? Team props. Yeah, 128.5 is the team total. So I feel pretty good that they're going to get at least 100 points tonight.
Oh yeah, tonight for sure. But I think
Cleveland's the one.
The Cleveland's the one to keep an eye out for. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, my big number is the number 8. Okay. So I, yesterday had a baseball big number. Why not continue with the trend?
Okay.
Let's do another one. And like I said yesterday, I kind of like to keep it interesting. Give you something along with a big fact or something that maybe a lot of people don't know. So my big thing right now, obviously, huge Mets fan, and Pete Alonso has hit another home run in 2 consecutive games. Wow. So he's on a roll. He's on fire right now. The polar bear is just crushing it on all cylinders. He's doing a phenomenal job. So it made me think, what is the longest record of most consecutive games that somebody has hit a home run in the MLB?
Okay.
Do you have any guesses as to who this is?
I have no clue.
I think the only person who would know would be Brett.
Yeah.
Brett would be the only person I know who would know who these people are, because with the game of baseball...
Barry Bonds.
No, it was not Barry Bonds. But good guess, though.
That's my only guess.
But with the game of baseball, consistency is a huge give and take game, because with 162 games out of the year, it's hard for even top players to consistently perform at the top of their game all season long. It's just really hard to do, especially with a long game like that. I mean, we were talking about this earlier last week. When you came in, you said, what's going on? The first words out of my mouth were Francisco Lindor needs to figure it out.
Yeah.
2 errors at shortstop. Right. Come on, man. You're a superstar. But, I'm having to eat my own words right now because, there's going to be days where superstars have off days. So when you get that diamond in the rough, where somebody is clicking on all cylinders and is getting that consistency going, Then you have people like Dale Long, who has the record of 8 straight games of hitting a home run. He set that in 1956 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And that record has only been tied twice. It was tied by Don Mattingly of the Yankees in 87, and again by Ken Griffey Jr. From the Seattle Mariners in 1993.
Should have guessed Griffey.
It seems like one of those records that just seems like it's going to be very hard to break. I think it is breakable right now.
Where's Pete Alonso right now, you said?
2.
How many?
He's
2 in a row?
He's in 2, so if the next 6 games play out, he could tie it, but it goes to show that 8 is the record and has stood since 1956 and has only been tied twice since. So, could be very interesting to see how these things play out.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Maybe. Hopefully so.
I don't know. Ivan Herrera, that's the guy you could add on a 2-game home run streak. Maybe if everything plays out for him.
Well, now it's kind of seeming like 2's just easy pickings.
That's right. You
gotta get up there. Gotta get up there.
We'll check back in on Monday and see where he's where he's sitting at. But let's go ahead and wrap up this hour and get to another break. When we return to start our third and final hour, we got to talk Final Four. We talked about it a little bit. We've gotten picks from both Bruce and Alan, but now we got to break down the 2 games tomorrow night. Starts 5 o'clock on CBS, Florida versus Auburn, then 7:45-ish right after that first game, 30 minutes. However much time they give after that game. 7:45 is the scheduled start time on CBS, Houston versus Duke. So when we come back from this break, we're going to break down both those games. That's next on Sports Time.
Showboats fans, the boats are back in action with a 1:30 kickoff on Saturday, April 12th at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as they take on the Houston Roughnecks in a special Memphis wrestling-themed game, the Showboats Showdown. Come see all the football action of the UFL and enjoy wrestling matches pregame and a special halftime main event. More football, more wrestling, more Showboats. Get your tickets today at UFLShowboats.com. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats! At the Home Depot, Spring Black Friday is here, and we've got 14 days of deals to transform your space. So what are you working on? How about a cricket stylish burrito for a trip date? It's out the dining bar. Find a wide selection of grills under
Showdown at the World Championship Hot Wing Contest and Festival, Saturday, April 26th at the Memphis River Garden Park on Riverside Drive. See over 60 teams fighting for hot wing supremacy along with live blues, soul, and rock and roll, all in support of the Ronald McDonald House. It's a sizzling day of fiery flavors, live music, and family fun, and you're invited. Get your tickets now at WorldWingFest.com, sponsored by RS Financial Group, Bank 3, ATC Fitness, and Universal Access. This is your delicious chance to make a difference.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them at 382-2363. That's 382-2363. Sports 56 traffic.
Still a little bit of rubbernecking going on over here on 240 eastbound, up past Poplar on a wreck they've got over to the side. It's picked up with more traffic on 40 east from Sycamore View Road all the way out past Germantown Parkway as that traffic flow builds on I-40 east headed on out into Fayette County. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry is your diamond engagement ring headquarters. Go see them this weekend and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jack Wiley, Love City, once again.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian Landon with you as we start our third and final hour on this Friday afternoon. We got to talk about the Final Four. I'm super excited for both of these matchups tomorrow night. The first game, Auburn in Florida, starting at a little after 5 o'clock on CBS. Then once that game is over, 7:45-ish on CBS, Houston versus Duke. It is interesting. I reference KenPom a lot. I love KenPom's website. I think some people overvalue his rankings a little too much. Not even his rankings. I shouldn't say that because I do think a common misconception out there about KenPom is that these are his rankings. These are, he's going through and ranking these. It's not. Same thing as Net, same thing as Bart Torvik, any of these sites. All it is adjusted offense, adjusted defense. It's a formula. It's all just math that ranks these teams. But I think a lot of people overvalue his rankings at times. But, a lot of his nuggets he has in there are really, really good on his website. But I did notice this when looking at these four teams. The two matchups tomorrow night are the top four teams according to KenPom right now. And it is 1 versus 2. Right now, Houston is number 1 on KenPom, and Duke is number 1 on KenPom. Houston is number 2. They're going against each other. Number 3 on KenPom is Florida. Number 4 is Auburn. They're going against each other. So you have, at least according to KenPom, number 1 versus number 2, and then number 3 versus number 4. So a little interesting how that played out. But let's start with this first game. Florida versus Auburn. The big storyline here is that Todd Golden worked for Bruce Pearl when he was younger, kind of getting into coaching. He was an assistant under Bruce Pearl. And then the other big storyline is Johni Broome. We know he left with an injury in the Elite Eight, and kind of one of those cinematic moments of sports where he leaves. All the reporting, watching it on television was, he's not coming back from that. There were tweets out there that, his parents were in tears in the tunnel as he was getting looked at, and he was even very emotional when he went back because kind of the thought of, depending on how bad this is, I've worked all this time, started at Morehead State and then transferred to Auburn, and now we're here. We're right on the doorsteps of making the Final Four, and I'm going to be injured and I'm going to miss it. And then ultimately, about 5 minutes of game time later, here he comes out of the tunnel. And I was reading a story about how it kind of played out, where I don't know if someone fouled out or if there was another injury, but something happened on the court and somebody needed to be taken out for Auburn. And Johni Broome said he saw this from the tunnel while he was kind of slowly making his way back to the bench. And so he goes, this is the perfect time. He leaves the tunnel and immediately just walks right past Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl doesn't say, hey, Johni, you good? Johni, get back in there. He just walks by him, and that Bruce Pearl kind of just tapped him on, patted him on the back or something like that of, okay, you're good. And he went in. And, that was kind of the hey, I'm going in. You're not stopping me. And Bruce Pearl certainly wasn't going to stop him. And he goes in, he buries a three, kind of the cinematic moment of being able to come back in. But the question is, how healthy will he be in this Final Four game? He spoke to reporters yesterday and said he's 100% ready to go for the game. Now, 100% ready to go and 100% healthy are two completely different things. So I don't know. I don't expect to see anything limiting him tomorrow night in the game. I think he should be pretty much full go for Auburn, but that's super important. I mean, he is the heart and soul of this Auburn team. And then you kind of look at these two teams have already met once, and it was a game where Florida went on the road and beat Auburn. I believe it was a 9-point win by Florida on the road, and it was without Elijah Martin. A lot of people know Elijah Martin because of what he's done this year at Florida, but transferred into Florida last offseason after playing at FAU. So we've certainly seen him against the Memphis Tigers. But they did that without him, and a really impressive win. That was kind of the win when they did that on the road. And Bruce Marshall pointed this out about an hour ago. That was kind of the win that had everybody going, whoa, this Florida team's legit. And so now meeting again in the Final Four, I think this is going to be a physical game. I think it's going to be a really fun game. You look at these teams, both of them, really good on the boards. And that was kind of what they did in that first game. Both got a lot of offensive rebounds, putbacks, second chance points. But you look right now, in terms of offensive rebound percentage, Florida is 5th in the country in offensive rebounding percentage, and Auburn is number 48 in offensive rebound percentage. So not as good as Florida is, but defensively, Auburn has been really good all season, 8th in the country. So I think the idea is try to limit those offensive boards from Florida. I believe in that first matchup, Auburn had more offensive rebounds than Florida. I believe it was something like 15-11. Auburn had the advantage. So, this is going to be a physical game. You look at the big men on both teams. We already mentioned Janai Broome, but you look at some of those other guys down there that are going to make an impact. You've got Dylan Cardwell and Chaney Johnson and, some of these guys that could make an impact for Auburn. And on the other side, we know, some of these guys, Alex Condon and what he has done this year, and they've got some good big men on Florida side as well. So I think this could be a game that comes down to the post players and kind of who makes that impact. But I don't really know. I know I have Florida picked for this one on my bracket before the tournament started, but I can see it going either way tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, it seems like all of our guests are all leaning one way. They're all leaning towards Florida. And it was interesting what you mentioned about the line, because I read something earlier today about the first time that Florida and Auburn met. The line was, I believe, 10.5 in favor of Florida.
Is that right?
Under 10.5. Now we're at this game, and it has dropped down to a 2.5-point favorite. So that goes to show how. I mean, we've been talking about it all season long on how dominant and good Auburn is as a basketball team, and the same thing with Florida. I mean, each team has had their hiccups along the way. Where Florida's loss to Georgia, I would say, was their biggest upset. Nobody really saw that coming or expected that from them. But as far as both of these teams, both have been rolling. Both have been doing fantastic jobs. But I thought that was a huge kind of telltale sign of how they expect this game to kind of be the inverse of what Duke and Houston's going to be, where Duke and Houston's going to be a very defensive battle, that the Florida and Auburn game's more going to be an offensive shootout, which is always more exciting to me. I love seeing high points. I love seeing all that kind of stuff. But hey, for the Final Four, for the best of the best of the teams in the country right now, all meeting up, I think we've got the best in.
Yeah, and everyone's been talking about that stat out there about KenPom, the top 10 KenPom teams since he started his site. All 4 of these teams are in that top 10 KenPom era teams, and you look at it and you are getting the best of the best. You look in terms of offensive efficiency, Auburn third in the country offensive efficiency. Florida, second in the country offensive efficiency. Duke, number 1 in the country offensive efficiency. Houston, 10. So all 4 teams, top 10 offensive categories. Defensively, adjusted defensive efficiency. Houston, number 1. Duke, number 5. Florida, number 10. Auburn, number 8. So in both offense and defense, both top 10 teams. So I think that's what makes both these games hard to, and I think you've heard everybody say this that we've talked to this week, and certainly I think today when we talked to both Bruce and Alan, I think it was Alan that said, you know, I could see this going either way for both of these games, but I do like Florida here, but I do like Duke here. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston came out and made it difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn came out. I mean, heck, Auburn was number 1 in the country for most of the year. So I think both these games are going to be really thrilling. Going to that second game, Duke and Houston. This game, I'm really excited about. You look at Duke, their last loss was February 8th against Clemson. That was on the road. Before that, you have to go all the way back to November 26th when they lost to Kansas. On the other side, for Houston, their last loss of the season was in overtime against Texas Tech on February 1st. So both these teams on 15-plus game win streaks. Now, you can make the argument and say, well, Florida's on a 10-game win streak, and they're in the SEC. Auburn, they're not on a win streak, but again, in the SEC, neither Duke nor Houston are playing in that high-level conference that we saw in the SEC. I completely agree with that, but I think the biggest thing for Houston, I mentioned that loss to Texas Tech coming in overtime. 4 losses this season for Houston. 3 of them overtime losses. Texas Tech on February 1st was an overtime loss. November 30th, San Diego State, overtime loss. November 26th, Alabama, overtime loss. If you want to go to their the only regular season loss this season, it comes to another team that is in the Final Four, Auburn. Auburn beat them earlier in the season. A semi-home game for Houston, a game where Auburn won 74-69. So you have to go all the way to November 9th for the only time this season that Houston has lost in regulation. So I think that is reflective of, even in the losses that they have, super competitive, super close. You look at, 5-point loss in overtime against Alabama, 3-point loss in overtime against San Diego State, 1-point loss in overtime against Texas Tech. So that's when I see, and I know both Alan and Bruce like Duke minus 5.5. And maybe I should like Duke minus 5.5, and maybe because of what I'm going to say is a reason I should like Duke minus 5.5, because maybe everyone's thinking this. And I always think the smart thing to do is if you see a lot of people on one side, go the opposite direction. But I'm seeing Duke lose only 1 game this season, and that game was a 5-point loss, 74-69 against Auburn. So every single game this season, Houston has either won or they've lost by 5 points or less. So now you see Duke as a 5.5-point favorite. Something tells me Houston, even if they lose, they're going to keep this game close. It could be that defensive slugfest. I mean, you look at that total in the mid-130s. I kind of like Houston to at least cover this game. I feel like this one's going to be the one that's down to the wire. Right now, KenPom, his website predicts scores for all college basketball games. He has Duke winning by 2 points. So, I don't know.
It'll be interesting. And I was just looking something up because I remember, give you a little bit of insider information. I was at the Wrestle Center this past Sunday, and I was refereeing. I was behind the curtains. I was like, you know what? I got a little bit of time. I'm gonna watch me some Elite Eight basketball. So I pull up the Tennessee-Houston game. Tennessee this year has averaged 74 points per game, which is incredible. They're a high-scoring, high-powered offense, and when they were on a roll, it was tough to stop them. I'm watching that game, and of course, I made the folly because I just didn't want on my bracket to have all 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. It just didn't sit right with me. In hindsight, it's always 2020. Wish I would have done that. But I was favoring Tennessee. I had Tennessee over Houston. So I'm sitting there watching the first half of basketball, and it just looked like Tennessee couldn't get anything rolling. Nothing was working for them. Shots weren't falling. They weren't getting open. It just seemed like they were disoriented. With Houston's high-powered defense, they held them to a record low of only 15 points in the first half of play. 15.
Yeah.
Like that.
Insane.
The only time you saw something like that was McNeese versus Clemson, where McNeese held Clemson to 13 points or something like that. Now, of course, Clemson turned it around and kind of mounted a comeback, ultimately losing that game. But I say all that to say, do not undermine this Houston defense.
Sure.
I know Duke is a high-powered team. I mean, I just went through two of the players you should be on the lookout for. The number one player in Cooper Flagg, I mean, this 6'10 monster at his position is going to be all over the place. Defensively, he's strong.
Yep.
Shooting three-pointers, he's strong. He is a playmaker. There's a reason why he's already projected to go early in the first round of this year's NBA draft. But for a team like Houston to hold a high-power offensive team like Tennessee down like that, and to just ultimately just basically shut them out of the game the entire way through, man, it's gonna be a good game. And I agree with you. I think the Duke-Houston game is gonna be a very good one to watch and a very interesting one to see all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I've talked a lot about it this week, but I remember before the season started, everybody so enamored by the freshman on Duke. Obviously led by Cooper Flagg. And I'll tell you this, and John and I were talking about it earlier today on his show. I forget what they call it. Countdown to Craziness, I think is what they call it at Duke, where it's their kind of midnight madness type of deal where, the team goes out there, they have a little bit of a scrimmage, dunk contest, that sort of thing at Duke, just get people excited for the season. Well, when they had that and they had their scrimmage, I watched it because I wanted to see Cooper Flagg. I wanted to see some of these guys. Well, I'll be completely honest. I didn't know much about Con Knippel at the time. I knew a ton about Cooper Flagg. I knew Malawach had played in the Olympics and was going to be a big-time factor for them as a center. I did not know about Con Knippel. And watching that, the countdown to craziness in that scrimmage, he was the guy that flashed. I mean, he was doing everything. He was knocking down threes. He was grabbing rebounds. He was defensively making plays. And I came away from that going, man. And I joked around about it of Cooper Flagg's not the best freshman on that team. Con Knippel is. Obviously not. I mean, Cooper Flagg is going to be the number one pick. He does everything so well. But you've seen those games maybe where teams are putting all their focus on Cooper Flagg, and Con Knippel is knocking down threes, and he's leading the team in scoring, and he's doing all of these things. And so everyone was talking about these freshmen and how good they would be and all of this stuff. And I remember so many people talking about, well, they're going to rely too much on freshmen that's going to hurt them. We're in a day and age of veteran college basketball. You've got to have the vets. You've got to have, look at the transfer portal. Look at the guys that are entering the transfer portal and landing at the big spots. It's guys that have been in college basketball for 3-4 years. They're the veterans of college basketball. You got to have that. But nobody was paying attention to, when Sion James, who had spent 3 or 4 years at Tulane, commits to Duke. I don't know if that really raises, that's not, ex-leading scorer for Louisville commits to Duke. It doesn't have that same effect. I don't even think Sion James was the leading scorer for Tulane last year. But he was a veteran guard that has now come in and plays his role and gives Duke what they need. You look at Tyrese Proctor, who has been around the game for a couple of years now. He is going in there and knocking down shots and playing his role. They go out and get a guy like Mason Gillis, who was one of the guards for Purdue last year when they were in the national championship game. He has that postseason experience. I think we overlooked maybe those contributing pieces that Duke added with these veteran players that maybe went a little bit under the radar because they weren't Cooper Flagg, they weren't Con Knippel, they weren't Malawach, these 5-star freshmen that were coming in. And I think that got overlooked, and now it's definitely not something that's being overlooked. I think everyone is noticing those key players that they have kind of in more of those support roles. Because, yes, Cooper Flagg is your star. Cooper Flagg is the best player on this team. Con Knipple, I would say, is probably the second best player on this team. But when you look at some of these other guys that, are playing big-time factors, Mason Gillis, I just mentioned him. He played 4 years at Purdue before transferring to Duke. That's a guy that has been around the game, has learned it at a very high level at Purdue. Caleb Foster is a guy that is in his second year at Duke, has kind of learned that system. Tyrese Proctor, this is his third season at Duke. Another guy has learned that system under John Shire. Sion James was at Tulane for 4 years before going to Duke, a veteran. They have those pieces, and so I think that's what makes this Duke team super scary, is they have the elite level talent from the freshmen, but they also have those older guys that kind of supplement this roster. And so, they're going to be a very tough out. But then on the other side, you look at Houston defensively and what they bring to the table. I thought, that could be the big time factor of how this game plays out. Johnny Radio pointed this out. How do the officials ref this game tomorrow? Are they letting the two teams be physical? Are they letting Houston be a little physical on the defensive end of the court and kind of make it ugly? Because if they do that, then I say Houston has a really good shot of winning this game. If they're calling everything, if they're not letting Houston play that physical brand of defense that they play, then maybe Duke has that advantage there, because you look at what Duke does on both sides. Number 1 offense, number 5 defense. They are elite at both on both ends of the court. And I liked what Bruce said earlier about how this Duke team, the problem that Houston has given a lot of other teams is how long they are, how big they are, how physical they are. Well, those are things that you could say about this Duke team. They're big, they're long, they don't mind being physical. And so I really am excited for this game. I mentioned it. Ken Pom has Duke winning by 2. For the Florida-Auburn game, he has Florida winning by 1. We mentioned it earlier. I predicted Houston versus Florida in the national championship, so I'll stick with that. That's certainly what I'm hoping for. I do think whoever wins this Houston-Duke game, that's who I'm going to be pulling for in the national championship game, whether it is Houston or Duke. I have Auburn
versus Duke, I believe, with Auburn winning it all.
And that
which seems like I'm heavily in the minority with that. I didn't expect to be, but hearing from all of our guests this week, they've been heavy on Florida over Auburn, and then Florida going all the way. So
I think a lot of that has to do with, because I think it was Blake Lovell we talked to earlier this week, who said, right now, I think you can make an argument that Auburn is playing better basketball than Florida, because Florida, there were a couple times that it looked like they were beat. You go back to UConn.
It looked like they were about to be early exits.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were playing really good teams.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a harder path to the Final Four than
everyone was
Auburn.
saying that out of the Selection Sunday was hardest region is Florida's region. It's just top to bottom, super loaded. And so, they have that game against UConn where they're really struggling. They have that game against Texas Tech where, it looked like they were beat and then they come back. So I think you can make an argument that right now maybe Auburn is playing better basketball than Florida. But if you go back to, the end of the regular season and the conference tournament, you can I don't even think it'd be an argument to say that at that time Florida was playing much better basketball than Auburn was. You go back and look at that. Auburn lost 4 of their 5 games after February 1st, I should say. February 8th, that loss against Florida. March 4th against Texas A&M. March 8th against Alabama. And then in the conference tournament, March 15th against Tennessee. 3 of those games, that was 3 losses of their last 4 games going into the NCAA tournament. So I think everyone would agree Florida was playing better basketball at the time. And so I think a lot of people came into that, and I think I kind of fell into it because I had Auburn losing in the Elite Eight, and maybe I think part of that was I didn't want all 4 number 1 seeds, so I said somebody has to go. But I had Auburn out in the Elite Eight, but I think a lot of people had them out, at least not making it to the national championship, because on Selection Sunday, when we're all making our brackets, everyone had seen, well, Auburn just lost 3 of their last 4 games. You know, they're not playing the best basketball of the season right now. So maybe that was part of it. I think that had to do a lot of why you're seeing so many people not have Auburn in this super chalky year. Auburn was still the number 1 overall seed on Selection Sunday, but not a lot of people picking them to win the whole thing. So, you know, we'll see what happens tomorrow night with both of these semifinal games. Again, the first game starting on CBS at 5 o'clock tomorrow. That game is the Florida-Auburn game. Let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's trending.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill with 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes. Do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today to your loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill. Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code BEST. Swishradio.com, code BEST.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Listen up, sports fans. Your next winning drive is at Landers Ford in Collierville. That's right. The iconic Landers Easy Pass always delivers more for your trade than their biggest discounts on your next winning drive. See it all at LandersFordPass.com. Landers Ford, get the support of a certified service tech who comes right to your driveway with the Landers Ford Service Experience Program. And pick it up or fix it on the spot. Landers Ford in Collierville. They're going to be a plan to find you the most savings possible. You can make a trade and possibly lower your payments. And you can buy your current vehicle even if you don't buy from them. It's a tradition of things all across the Mid-South line. New Fords and quality pre-owned models are arriving every day. Be the rush. Go see them today in Collierville or online at LandersFordMemphis.com. And now from the 1977 Ole Miss football team that beat #1 ranked Notre Dame, ladies and gentlemen, the final play of the game comes from president of Landers Ford in Collierville, John Kitchens. If it doesn't say Landers, it paid too much.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's building pretty good through Midtown on 240 southbound here at South Parkway, all the way down past Norris. It's only going to get heavier. Working your way south of Memphis down through South Haven. It's increased even more 40 east, right on schedule over here at Sycamore View Road, all the way out into Fayette County. Weimer's Jewelry is your diamond engagement ring headquarters. Go by and see them this weekend at Weimer's Jewelry out there on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back into Sports Time. Bryant and Landon with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We're live and local inside the Family Leisure Studios. And let me remind you that this third hour is brought to you every afternoon by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. And their talented team is ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Go online to jaguarbluffcity.com, but head out there and test drive these vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, just off of Quince. Well, we've got to talk about what's trending in a story that came out earlier today over on the Commercial Appeal about the Tiger turnstile attendance numbers. They've been released. We know this is a yearly occurrence where we get the scan count, the box score numbers, and then at the end of the season we get the official number for actual attendance, turnstile attendance for the Tiger basketball team. Jonah Dillon has the story over at the Commercial Appeal, and in it says that Memphis basketball drew an average of 6,569 fans per game in the 2024-25 season, a drop in attendance for the third straight season. If you go back to the 2022-23 season, the Tigers averaged 7,558 fans. Last year, the 2023-24 season, it dropped down to 6,827, and then now this year, dropping again to 6,569. The program drew a high of 11,794 fans for the December 28th game against Ole Miss, and a low of 4,682 fans on the December 4th game against Louisiana Tech. This comes from the Commercial Appeal through an open records request. And, you look at that number, it just completely drops from the average when you get to conference play. The high for conference play was the final game of the season, 9,981 fans in attendance for both senior night. That was also the night where the Tigers claimed the outright regular season title for the AAC. So, it's down another year. Definitely not what you want to see, especially with such a successful season for the Tigers. You would have hoped that, some of those games were a little higher. I think I like that last game of the season against South Florida being 9,981. There certainly was a lot of excitement for that game with everything around it. Like I said, senior night, but also wrapping up the conference championship, regular season conference championship. So, I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. You look at some of these games in particular. I mentioned Ole Miss was the high, 11,794. Mississippi State, the other big home game in non-conference, 10,362. The only other, and Jonah Dillon points this out, when you look at the schedule for the Tigers, we talked so many times this year about how strong this schedule was in non-conference, but when you look at it, a lot of that was on the road. You had Maui, where all of those games were on the road. Even games against San Francisco was a road game that they wanted to say was a neutral site. It was a game played in San Francisco. UNLV was a road game. Clemson was a road game. Virginia was a road game. Those big-time games were all on the road. You only had 3 power conference teams come to FedEx Forum this season. It was Missouri, and then the 2 games we mentioned against Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Missouri, that was the season opener. 6,092 was the turnstile count for that game. And then you look at the rest of the non-conference. Ohio, only 5,491. La Tech was the low, 4,682. And then Arkansas State, 5,455. You look through conference, North Texas, 5,353. East Carolina, 4,753. Wichita State, 4,826. So only a couple of 200 more than the season low against La Tech. UAB, 6,560 for that big game. Tulsa, another one, 4,833. Temple, a little more than 5,000. FAU over 7,000, it was 7,276, and then Rice 5,183. I think it goes back to the point that Brett has made a lot, and we've talked about it a lot. I think a lot of people make this point that people don't care about this conference, and when you're playing in this conference, and it is the Wichita States, which I think is one of the better brands when it comes to basketball in this conference, and what do the fans tell you? Only 4,826 were in attendance. So people don't want to see these opponents in FedEx Forum anymore.
No, and I mean, you even relate that to football. Like Saturday rolls around, you've got college football. What are you going to be more excited about?
Sure.
You're going to be more excited about Memphis taking on UAB, or are you going to be sitting down and getting ready for Alabama versus Georgia? And I mean, I know Memphis has no real chance of ever getting into the SEC. That's not going to happen. But I feel like, because I feel like this is something that you've mentioned before, is that Memphis has the potential, just for football-wise, to join the Pac-12 conference. Ideally, right now, it should be called the Pac-2 because there's only 2 of them in there, but it's starting to grow. You've got a lot of teams from the Mountain West about to join the Pac-12. Boise State, Fresno State, UNLV. I believe there's another state in there.
I think they're all states. Fresno State.
All states except UNLV. They got to be.
Well, is UNLV going? I thought they said they were staying. Maybe I could be wrong.
I don't know. But I know Boise State's leaving. They're
Boise
going.
State's leaving.
So
Fresno State.
A lot of different moves
states,
like that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Gonzaga's gonna be in there, but that's basketball.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because if they just made a football team,
I'd love for them to.
It would be interesting. But it just goes to your point that the American Athletic is just, it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
It just seems like and to me there doesn't really seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. It just seems like there's like they kind of just picked random teams and are like, here you go.
Sure.
You're in the American Athletic right there, but not to shift out a whole bunch, difference and whatnot. But for for the NFL draft coming up, I was looking at some articles about what are some sleeper picks. And speaking of the American Athletic, Field Yates loves Chandler Martin.
Yeah,
loves Chandler Martin. Says that he has one side of the stadium to the other side of the stadium raised. The dude can fly, go all over the place. So I'm excited, and so that actually leads me to a question. I feel like you might have answered this before, but why not answer it again? Is what kind of track do you foresee Seth Hennigan taking in the NFL? For me, I was talking to Norris about this.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to go and be similar to like a Kyle Trask, where he's for sure going to be drafted. He's for sure going to go somewhere, but he's going to be that like reliable backup, and almost kind of like a Mason Rudolph, where if you needed to call on him, he can for sure be that guy to step up to the plate and lead your team. But I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think about Seth Hennigan's future in the NFL?
Yeah, let me put a wrap on the basketball attendance, because I do think, an argument could be that, a lot of these games, weeknight games, we know the Sunday games in conference play for a lot of these games. So, look, I know it's hard to get down to FedEx Forum at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night. It's hard to get down there at, noon, 1 o'clock. Look, there were games this year that, I probably would have gone to if it was a Saturday or something, but it's Sunday at 1 o'clock or Sunday at noon, Sunday at 11, and, I'm going to church, and I know there's a lot of people in this area that, go to church on Sundays, and so, it's hard. I understand it completely. So I don't think it's just a one, just here's the reason why people aren't going. This is a bad thing, whatever. But, it is something to take note that it has been dropping over the last 3 seasons. Now, back to what you were saying with Tiger football and these guys in the draft. Love that Field Yates has Chandler Martin. I'm going to get to that with what I learned today. But when it comes to Seth Hennigan, I think when you look at his background, when you look at what he did, a 4-year starter at the University of Memphis, breaking every quarterback record at the university, I think you look at him, his father is a high school football coach down in Texas. So, son of a coach, is a guy that has played for 4 seasons as the starting quarterback. It would be hard for me to think that there's not a team on day 3 that looks at him and says, yeah, we're not going to draft him. There's going to be a team out there that says, we could use a guy like Seth Hennigan in our quarterback room. Because it's the perfect, I feel like he's the perfect player for a day 3 kind of, let's just take a flyer on him. Worst case scenario, he doesn't work out, and we've lost our 5th round pick, right? Or our 6th round pick. At best, he's a super serviceable backup, maybe making a run at being a starter. Who knows? This is a guy that is a super high competitor. Has that, I think, a really good ceiling. And I don't think the floor is super low. Like, I think this is a very consistent quarterback. I think he's a guy that wants to go out there and get better and learn. I think he, eats that stuff up. Look, there have been quarterbacks in the past at the University of Memphis that have had the opportunity to go and play at the next level. And because they didn't want it bad enough, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
They did not make it at the next level, And so I don't get that vibe with Seth Hennigan. I think he's a guy that is going to be hungry and is going to be, ready to take advantage of whatever opportunity he gets. So I think he'll be drafted. I think he'll be, on a roster. I think we'll be talking a lot about him in, preseason, getting a lot of snaps. And, I think a guy that, you could I would love to see him get taken by one of these teams that already has a starting quarterback, but a guy that maybe you're just constantly developing Seth Hennigan, and maybe he is able to be your backup. Maybe he's your 3rd string at first, but a guy that can learn and just get better in your system, and then maybe one day he is your backup. Maybe one day he finds a spot and he can compete for a starting spot. I don't know. Any guy you say day 3 draft pick at the quarterback position, it's hard to envision them being starting quarterback, but
Right.
There's a lot to like with Seth Hennigan.
Yeah. Where do you potentially see him going? Like, I'm trying to think through the NFL teams of like who would need who would need a spot filled. I know, honestly, dude, and I mean, this is going to sound crazy because I didn't really know who the dude was until the Titans signed him, but Brandon Allen, backup for the 49ers, is gone.
Sure.
Right now, all you really have in that QB room is Brock Purdy. I could ideally see Seth Hennigan going and being a 49er.
I mean, that'd be great. When you think of quarterbacks, where you want to land, I think San Francisco
yeah,
has to be up
landing
there.
right there, 49ers, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any specific teams. I mean, I know Dallas just went out and acquired a backup quarterback, but maybe you need a third string down there in Dallas. Maybe Dallas team. I just it's hard for me to pick out individual teams, but I do think the best spot for him is a team that has that starting quarterback, has that veteran that maybe in a couple years is ready to go. But one of those that has that established quarterbacks that you can go in there and all you're focused on is learning and trying to get better. And maybe one day it is your time at that place. A lot of times we see quarterbacks are bouncing all over the place. Maybe it's you learn here and then you go and now you're competing for a backup role somewhere else, and that could lead to competing for a starting spot. But I am excited for all of these guys at Memphis. This is. After last year not really having any sort of draft buzz for anybody, you've got 3 guys that are getting draft buzz and could have an opportunity of hearing their names called at the NFL draft or certainly signing undrafted free agent contracts. So now I'm excited. We're getting closer, and we'll see. I hope that as we get closer, I know Brett asked the other day of are you seeing any 5-round, 6-round, full draft, mock drafts, and you're just not seeing that right now. I think you'll see a little bit of it when we get really close to the draft.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe then we get a better idea of where people think Seth Hennigan could go, but it's going to be fun to kind of keep up with that and see where he could land. But we need to go ahead and wrap up this segment and about to wrap up the show. Let's get to our final break, and when we return, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Amazon Sports. Fun, exciting, friendly company. All TVs, 24 tabs for all families. Happy hour 3, 6, Monday through Friday. Music, video, and upscale venue. IFC, and special Orlando. And you found all your sports in one right place. Your spots, Sports Bar, Lakewood's Town Square, Highway 7, check Facebook, weekend music at the other spots.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Hey, it's Covino and Rich. And whether you're heading to the office, kicking back to watch the big game, or enjoying a night on the town, Travis Matthew has you covered. They create versatile apparel designed to make you look and feel your best, wherever the day takes you.
From performance-driven styles to everyday essentials for both men and women, Travis Matthew bridges the gap between style and comfort. Ready to elevate your everyday? Visit TravisMatthew.com and get 20% off your first order when you sign up for email. That's TravisMatthew.com.
The finals are here, and the only thing for sure, it's the last time to bet on college basketball this season. Been an amazing ride, full of unexpected happenings. So get in on the action. DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. You download the Sportsbook app. It's quick. The code is HERD. That's me, H-E-R-D. For new customers, get $150 in bonus bets. All you have to do is bet $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Landon, what I learned today, it's something we talked about in the last segment. Field Yates really likes Chandler Martin. They had a little bit of a panel of questions for the NFL draft guys over at ESPN. This was an ESPN Plus article. One of the questions was, who is your favorite day 3 sleeper? Field Yates, this was his response. Chandler Martin, linebacker from Memphis. I'll bang the gavel for Martin every day of the week, as the combine snub is a stick of dynamite. He absolutely flies around the field and was incredible as a blitzer last season, racking up 7 sacks. He had 13.5 over the past 3 seasons. Martin isn't a big linebacker at only 6 foot, 230 pounds, but he imposes his will and packs a powerful punch. He has a round 4 grade in my ranking. So a round 4 grade, I mean, that would be huge if Chandler Martin got taken in the 4th round. But he did call him a combine snub. That was kind of the big story around the combine when those combine rosters were announced and Chandler Martin didn't get an invite. It felt like Chandler Martin was getting a lot of love. He had an opportunity to come back to college, either play another season at Memphis or transfer somewhere else. He decided instead to go to the draft and was snubbed from the combine after going to a lot of showcase games. And so I was surprised when he didn't go to the combine, but it's good to hear that still getting some positive traction even without going to the combine. Would love to see him go as early as the 4th round. Would be huge, I think.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. It kind of gets you, kind of puffs up your chest a little bit with Memphis pride. You know, we got these guys going into the next level. It's like, yeah, that's our homegrown hero right there. So what I learned today is that the Mets win their home opener in, I would say, dominant fashion, a 5-0 win over the Blue Jays, who have been starting the season off on the right foot. Now marched on over into the Big Apple and came up very short. I mean, all of the superstars for the Mets showed out tonight. You have Alonso with a home run and 2 runs for himself. Lindor making his way to home plate twice. Soto doing the same. Nimmo with a huge hit to get people on bases. I mean, and our pitcher, Tyler Megill, I mean, he was lighting up the plate. He had 4 strikeouts in today's game and only allowed 2 hits for the Blue Jays. Pitched a shutout, 5-0 win for the Mets. So hopefully we can keep rolling on this little trend, because I didn't like the trend we were on before, where it was loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. Now we're at win-win. So hopefully we can keep that train rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. What I could have done without is the story that led Freddie Freeman to the IL after he re-injured his surgically repaired ankle by trying to take a shower. We know Freddie Freeman had this ankle injury late last season, played through it, but then got surgery in the offseason to remove bone spurs that had broken off dangerously close to his Achilles tendon. He had that surgery in November after the World Series. The team said he wasn't fully healthy when he re-injured it this time, but he wasn't fully healthy to start the season, but he did play to start the season, but then got injured while taking a shower. This was the quote from the story. A leak in the master bathroom had forced Freeman to use a different shower in the house that was a combination of a shower tub. In stepping over the lip of the tub, he lost his balance and fell. This is a quote from Freddie Freeman, quote, "I stepped in and my foot slid and I went down. Freak accident, can't really make it up." So he's going to be out with this injury now. He can rejoin the team ahead of their next homestand against the Cubs, but what a weird injury to see that. You're just trying to take a shower and you injure your ankle. That's strange.
That can't be the best way to go down. Not at all. What I could have done without, Julio Jones announces his retirement from the NFL. Does this officially mean we're old? Because all the players we grew up with are now
starting to retire.
Yeah, they're starting to retire.
It is
I
a weird
feel like
thing.
because we had, I would say the only one we still have remaining is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And it's an iffy up in the air for him.
I started saying that I've officially reached old when like guys I watched growing up were getting into the Hall of Fame. Like Carmelo Anthony just got in is going to get inducted in the Hall of Fame. Like that shouldn't be happening. Like he shouldn't be there yet.
No.
But that's all the time we have today. Enjoy the weekend. It's going to be great. All the action, Final Four, Major League Baseball, NBA, going to be a ton of fun. Enjoy it all. We'll talk to you again Monday afternoon.